Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Greg, are you ready with your top 5 list of old man insults, or is that not ready? Because good riddance is something that is not said by anyone under 70 years old, correct? That's not true, Jessica? You'll say good riddance, but
I said it yesterday.
Yeah, but you're a fossilized old person inside. Like, you're in disguise.
Thank you.
You're in disguise.
You do watch a lot of Columbo.
I mean, you're hiding. You're wearing a costume that pretends that you're not somebody with old person sensibilities, but you came in here today talking about a new CBS show.
Oh my God, it sounds amazing. Dan, have you seen what this new show is called?
No, I don't watch CBS except on Sunday morning, that magazine show that shows the sound of streams for 90 seconds.
Great.
Still
Sunday
good.
morning.
Just
Still
talking
good.
about that sound makes me feel like I have to take a piss. No, this new show, it's called FBI: CIA.
Oh, wow. I'm in.
2 different departments.
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
FBI: CIA.
Yep.
What else do you need to say?
This is the laziest show I've ever heard.
Are you surprised FBI got top billing? Or is that just grandfathered in because FBI is already a successful show?
It's a spin-off, so it's like NCIS New Orleans, you know? NCIS LA.
Why isn't it Law and
Spin-off.
Order, FBI, CIA?
That's a great idea.
Well, it's a different universe
Yes.
altogether. That's
It
the
is,
Dick
Dan.
Wolf universe.
Right. It's just packaged differently. I mean,
Good riddance, Greg?
Yeah, good riddance. It's one of those classic phrases. It's a little bit of cliche, but not really. I think it's a classic. It stands the test of time. Good riddance. You can say it about a lot of people, about a lot of situations across the decades. I think it's, and I think it fits this situation. Wild guess who I was talking about. I mean, Jimmy Butler. Come on. This is ridiculous, okay? What's going on is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what the rule is. I don't know what the Players Association allows, but to me, they should do more than suspend him. They should fine him. You know, he's really thrown a wrench in the whole season.
Those are without pay. Those suspensions are without pay.
Okay.
And I think he makes like $500,000 a game. So there's
Yeah.
those aren't small penalties.
That's fair. Okay, good. That's good.
You
Because
feel better
he
now.
deserves that. I do. I feel
He's
better
like,
now.
I have no problem.
We heard a phone. We
it was
heard a
mine.
phone.
It was mine.
I
I'm
pay
I'm admitting to it. Do I owe double today because
Wow.
Greg is in?
No,
it
that's
was
only on
I-
Tuesday. and
it was my phone.
It's
Only great.
It really is a surprise, though, for it to be a confession. Rare is the immediate Stugotz confession to a crime. Usually it's an assortment of moves. Don't go get cash, though, Stugotz. You got to
You
do
have
it
the
on
Venmo.
Venmo. You
Yeah.
got the Venmo fine bucket
okay.
now.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I
Venmo
got a
it.
QR code for you to scan during the break.
All right. Thank you.
A dedicated, straight-laced FBI agent and a street-smart CIA agent are part of a new clandestine task force charged with solving and preventing domestic terrorism in and around New York
Goosebumps.
City.
Goosebumps.
Amazing.
What's the name of that task force? Is it FBI, CIA?
Yes.
I feel like that's.
ridiculous.
I want to say it's wordy, but it's just letters.
I don't watch any TV show that's got a semicolon or a colon. No punctuation should ever be in the title of a TV show. Okay, that's for starters.
Right.
Let's think about this. What is the greatest TV show with punctuation in it?
MASH.
At
Whose line
LeBatard
is it anyway?
Show.
MASH is perfect.
MASH,
Oh,
yeah.
MASH
Yes.
is pretty good. I don't know how much better we're going to
How
be.
quick was Roy?
Yes, Roy. Roy's been waiting all his life for that question. When can I reference
Finally, he's asking.
1978 television show MASH? He was ready to pounce with a swiftness and speed that was really uncommon for the proceedings.
Jeopardy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeopardy.
Unnecessary. It really is.
What do you mean it's
I
unnecessary?
mean, why are you going to put an exclamation point after
Shouldn't
Jeopardy?
it be
Just to hammer it home.
It should
I
be a
mean.
question mark,
Jeopardy?
right?
No.
Because all the
No, there's got to be an urgency around
Yes.
it. You have to be
No,
in
but,
jeopardy. You
No,
have
but
to
all
be-
the answers are in the form of a question,
Right.
which
True.
played to the theme of the game show rather than Jeopardy.
Right.
Shouldn't it just be what is Jeopardy?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is Jeopardy?
No, there needs to be an urgency to the jeopardy. If you're saying the exclamation point is not needed here, then you're saying in general the exclamation point is not needed.
Yeah, but Trebek, God rest his soul, was not a exclamation point type personality, right? He was intellectual.
But
he was understated.
To Mike's point, though, the announcer, welcome to Jeopardy.
What about Who's the Boss?
Oh, great.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
another
an entry
good
right
one.
there. Good
Yeah.
job, you guys.
Are
Yeah,
you
yeah.
smarter than a fifth grader?
Well, I really was
No.
looking more for colons and sort of the fringe punctuations. You guys went straight to question marks and exclamation
Law and
points.
Order SVU, I think, would be the most famous of the colons. That show's been on
Yeah.
for an eternity.
Yeah, and I hate that every time I see it. And there's so many iterations of that colons are all over the universe now. There's never been a TV show with an ampersand.
Oh no. Law and Order.
Law and
Why
Order,
would
yeah.
you literally
Say that?
are just
There's-
talking
I'm sure
about
there's
it?
Wait
been
a minute.
plenty.
I thought that was the word. And.
No.
No,
it's ampersand.
no, it's got an
Is that
ampersand.
right?
There's a lot of
Yeah.
Why
ampersand
did you
shows.
say there's never been a show with it?
To
Laverne
answer-
and Shirley.
To
what he
answer
thought.
Stugotz's question, who is Bruce Springsteen?
Why,
Excellent. X-Files.
Why, Greg, would you be so aggressive about saying there's never been a show with an ampersand when you don't know that? Like,
Yeah,
why?
you know,
Why
I
would
was
you
playing
be?
the odds?
Right.
I mean, come on.
You have to play him with confidence,
Right.
Dan. You do.
I mean,
Yes.
it's from the Stugotz textbook of how to do this.
Greg, are you anti-movie with punctuation too? Because there's a lot of great movies with punctuation.
Mission Impossible, right?
Home Alone
Airplane.
2, Lost in New York.
Yeah. I mean, it's too easy, I guess, right? Let's just use the language. Let's just use words. No punctuation. It's just a personal rule of mine. I'm not saying I'm right.
You are saying you're right. Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show, the same way you were saying you were right that there's never been a show with an ampersand in
Right.
it.
While we were talking about a show with an ampersand in it. Yeah.
At Le Batard Show, put it on the poll. Has there ever been a good show with a colon in the title? But you are saying good riddance to Jimmy Butler. You're calling him names.
I'm calling him a selfish player right now who quit on his team. I don't think there's any way to parse that. Is there? I mean, you tend to differ with me on, yesterday you disagreed when I said that he's the antithesis of the best traits of Heat culture. How can you deny that with what he's done? And in the latest club statement, they're not just saying that it's conduct detrimental to the team. They're saying it's insubordinate action.
Well, this part is interesting to me. This is the lone remaining part of this that's interesting to me until it becomes something that continues to escalate. Last week, Mike Ryan said something about Pat Riley in which he called him a little bit prideful. I will tell you that in my experience with Pat Riley throughout the entirety of his career in Miami, that after what happened to him on LeBron James, the specifics of the overt embarrassment, overt public embarrassment, something like that had never happened to a man whose public image has only had the hit of New York on it, which was very painful. The way that he left New York.
Yes.
When he's fighting with management, it becomes, you're a quitter, you're a scoundrel. And the reason he left New York is because he wanted this kind of power. He did not feel like he had this kind of power in New York. When he came to Miami, he got this kind of power. So I ask you, because I will say that something happened to Pat Riley in how it is that hurt that he had never experienced before in his life because of how the pride gets stung on, man, everyone thinks of me a certain way, And I just got turned upside down by a player and his friends who are now starting a $5 billion league and realized, no, we'll grab the lessons there and we'll take them with us and we'll do some stuff with that. And got played publicly in a way that everyone saw. I will say that having seen him go through that and having seen him really legitimately hurt by that I wouldn't be surprised in this circumstance if he finds the urge to be petty about, I'll send you to Utah. Like, you're not gonna win this with me. If all the offers are equal, you're not going to be the one who publicly embarrasses me. Here's another suspension. Here's another suspension. I don't think that's a wise game to play with Jimmy Butler. I don't think the way that they're doing this is the way to do it if you want anything that maximizes return on Jimmy Butler. But I don't know for sure that the pettiness of being embarrassed this way wouldn't grab somebody in a really human way. And I'm saying that not having talked to him about it at all, just having covered the man for a while and realizing that this he does not like. Like, if you're going to put him in front of people for a power struggle, the reason the thing that LeBron hurt so much wasn't just that he took the titles with him and wasn't just the embarrassment, is that there was no move after. Like, there was no, I can punish him now. That's it. He's got his freedom and there's nothing that I can do about this embarrassment. I would not want to work for that man after I've embarrassed him.
I just don't think he has that option.
Right.
Because, like, when Portland did this, refused to send Damian Lillard where he wanted to go, Lillard was a bit more desirable by a pretty wide margin.
Yes.
Than Jimmy Butler is presently. I don't know the teams that are interested outside of the one that's been reported in Phoenix, but this is not the same kind of situation. This is a very well-known malcontent that if you invite into your franchise, Miami's an outlier. It usually goes to hell way before that.
I'm just telling you that where all of these tensions reside, this is an unusual one. I'm saying throughout sports, it's an unusual one to have in this setting. Imagine Bill Belichick keeping a player he does not want to keep, who continues to desecrate the Patriot way in a way that makes the local columnists call him quitter and selfish and celebrate that they're just going to keep finding reasons to punish him and take away money. And Jimmy's not going to want to work under those
I
circumstances.
believe that did happen with Tom Brady.
Right. He wanted him out like 2 years before he was actually out.
Because he wasn't falling in line with the Patriot way, and Brady wanted more rights.
Isn't this a bad strategy for Pat in general? Because aren't other players going to look at this and the treatment of Jimmy Butler at the very end here and be like, I don't want to play for an old, bitter guy who's still mad about something LeBron James did to him at the very end?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that take. That's like a Paul Pierce take. It's an anti-Miami thing. I think given the players here, you can't hold Miami's history. I was just going to focus on Jimmy's history, but yeah, it's fair. It went sideways with Dwayne Wade. We had the happy ending, but he did leave, and nobody felt good about the way that ended. I think that would be fair.
Billy felt good about it. It happened twice. LeBron, Wade, Butler still came here. I don't see a world where someone's turning down $50 million to play in Miami if that were to come. But there are two parts of this that are different and interesting. We mentioned the Damian Lillard part. That was done during an offseason. Teams have a lot more flexibility. The fact that we're in the middle of a season right now with a new CBA that's made it really difficult to move big contracts means that you need 4 or 5 teams to participate. It means you need Bradley Beal to waive his trade clause to potentially go to a place that he doesn't want if you're going to send Jimmy to Phoenix individually. But while he was wearing those Phoenix Suns colored shoes that was annoying.
in the Heat's most recent game against Portland, Bobby Marks put out some really interesting statistics per second spectrum about Jimmy's hustle on the floor over the last several games. So he's attempted fewer than 10 field goal attempts in 4 of his last 5 games. In that 5-game stretch, no more than 57 points, 42 field goal attempts, and 14 free throw attempts. The last time that occurred in his career, 2013. He moved at a fast speed, according to NBA's Second Spectrum, just 5% of the time, which is the second lowest percentage in a game in which he's played at least 20 minutes this season. Took a shot on 14% of his touches, the third lowest percentage in a game this season. Passed the ball on 76% of his touches, tied for the second highest percentage in a game this season. So he has just been giving zero effort on the floor, and it's clear when he's out there.
Quantifiable loafing. I have to issue a formal apology. It appears that FBI is in the Dick Wolf universe.
Oh.
Yeah, and also this is a blind spot.
Prolific Dick
Prolific
Wolf
Dick
universe.
Wolf universe, the Dickverse, if you will. Also, just a gaping hole in my knowledge when it comes to all CBS shows. It appears, Jess was informing me, FBI is pretty huge.
It's like one of the most watched shows
Yes.
on television right now. It's averaging over 8 million viewers. So, yeah, the FBI would get top billing, Dan, over CIA. Whoever's disputing that, you're wrong. Dick Wolf, also the orchestrator of the Chicago, what would you call that, universe?
The Chicagoverse.
The Chicagoverse.
Yeah.
Chicago Fire.
So what you're saying
Chicago
is
Med.
because it's Dick Wolf, you're saying that it should just be Law and Order, Chicago, FBI, CIA.
Yes.
That we should just keep,
Mash it all together.
ju-
Yeah.
MASH is
Yes, hey, how about that? Hey.
When you read the description of FBI, CIA, but I still don't totally understand what it's about. It's not FBI versus CIA, correct? Because I think I might
You have
That's
them
actually
like
playing-
taking each other on in a series of competitions.
I think I'd be more interested in
It's
that.
actually
That'd be
playing out
fun.
in real life.
It would be. It's a good idea by you.
FBI versus CIA. Now, that's a idea for the prolific Dick Wolf universe.
What is this idea, though? I still don't understand what the
They're
teaming
show
joining
up,
is.
forces.
And they're joining forces to prevent domestic terrorism in and around New York
If you have
City.
to ask, Dan, it's not for you.
What are they doing?
Now, there's an FBI Sydney. How is that? I thought the FBI was just like distinctly American.
Like a jurisdictional situation.
They just wanted to film near the Opera House?
Phrase, mate.
Well, you seem to be really good at searching this.
The United States, like, we don't do stuff in other countries. We stick to our own country. That's what we're
Really?
known for.
Well, when we interfere with other countries, we typically don't send the FBI, do we?
Sorry, I was being sarcastic, and I think that maybe someone to my left thought that I was not.
America first.
Oh.
I wanted to ask you guys something that you do not see a lot of. And I would say that if you're not a fan of the team or the person, generally this is not going to be something that sports fans receive well, even though all it is a blunt truth honesty that most people aren't speaking out loud. Dan Hurley, the UConn coach, during a mic'd up moment, yelled at a referee in a moment of really, I got taken aback by the arrogance, even though I understand that this arrogance often exists in people. And I understand that anger is data, that it's information, that just sort of reveals things to people about themselves and others. Dan Hurley yelling at a referee, when I talk about, I need you to imagine what Pat Riley Petty feels like when you have had the career of 1,000 Dan Hurleys. And a referee turns his back to you, and that respect is met with saying to him, don't turn your back on me. I'm the best coach in the effing sport. Couldn't believe that came out of his mouth.
He has won back-to-back titles.
I don't disagree with him. Right. Can't believe it came out of his mouth.
That's a bar. I like it. I have to issue another correction and an apology.
Oh,
It's
no.
not FBI Sydney.
It's international.
No, it's NCIS.
Yes. Well, there is an FBI International.
Yes, there is.
But no, there's
Right.
How does that exist?
NCIS Sydney, which follows a fictional team of special agents from the Naval Criminal Investigative Service, NCIS, investigating crimes. The series, set in Sydney, Australia, follows a joint task force that involves NCIS agents and Australian federal police officers working together on investigations involving American military personnel.
No.
So it's actually really NCIS AFP, Australian Federal Police.
And this is allowed because we have a naval station there.
Actually, the closest one is in Pith.
I think we need to rename a show in the Dick universe, NCIS, FBI, Law and Order, AFP, Chicago.
Can't have enough acronyms.
Just put them all together and see if you get an entire demographic of my parents and Stan Van Gundy watching.
These are literally the most popular shows in this country right
know.
now.
Yeah.
Someone skeeted at me, how about a new show called NYPD Blue Chicago? I like that idea.
just keep throwing firefighters and workers and CIA and FBI. Throw a couple of spies in there.
Miami Vice,
Put
Brooklyn.
Angela Lansbury in there somewhere.
What?
Just CBS.
Now there's a show with punctuation that is an all-time banger. Murder,
She Wrote. I was looking
Oh,
for
yeah.
I was looking for the commas. I was hoping for commas. You guys went all. I'm still stunned by the exclamation point on Jeopardy being something that you guys object to. When I do believe that when a contestant finds him or herself in jeopardy, it needs to be urgent. It can't be question, is there jeopardy? It can't be period, there's jeopardy. It's got to be, holy, someone's in jeopardy. Like, it needs the exclamation point. You're a writer. I figured you'd know that.
No, because Jeopardy begs a question mark. Because oftentimes you aren't sure whether you're in jeopardy. If I'm on a mountaintop,
I think you know.
If I'm standing near a cliff, am I in jeopardy?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes,
you're
you
not.
are.
What you're not in jeopardy of is when you're on that game show. When the worst thing that could happen is.
There's a lot of hyphenated shows too, Greg. We've got Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Hawaii Five-0. I mean, what are you doing with hyphens?
I don't like hyphens.
X-Files.
I don't like
Yeah.
acronyms in a title of a show. I don't like question marks. I don't like numbers.
Did you like MASH?
Words. Just have words. Password was the first game show I ever loved.
Right.
I think it was Alan Ludden.
Yeah.
Wonderful game show host. It's a word, password. No explanation points. They didn't call it PW as an abbreviation. There wasn't a colon. Password. Guess the word. Just simplify. Simplify. Mm-hmm. We're getting too complicated, too formulaic.
Get
with
back to
all these
basics.
numbers
Yeah.
and acronyms,
Yeah.
colons. Mm-hmm. It's just stupid.
You sound so much like Joe Biden.
I dig what you're saying, man.
Sitting around the kitchen table and screaming.
Oh, there it is again.
Password.
Oh, no.
My dad said, "Why can't shows be like Password again?"
It really is a bad impression.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good, Greg. That's not
The
good.
kitchen table in Scranton.
The impression doesn't work without the Scranton. Why would you forget the only part of the impression that makes it an impression worth listening to?
Dad, sitting around the kitchen table in Scranton.
There you go.
Do you know what MASH stands for?
Medical asswipe whole hospital.
What?
Nailed it.
That's the first thing I could come up with.
You don't say.
What does it stand for? I'm not disrespecting whatever it really stands for.
I'm guessing the A is Army, the H is hospital, the M probably mobile because they were in Vietnam.
That's a good point by you.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do you know what MASH stands for?
I guess the S can be I don't know what that one is.
The reason that I bring it up is because when you mentioned that you don't want any punctuation, I thought for some reason of the old television show Motorcycle Cops because we were talking about all this and
What's that about?
CSI, CIA,
Chips?
FBI is chips.
yeah.
That's
Classic.
right. That's right.
Yes.
Lowercase I.
Found a comma.
punch.
Yeah,
Found a comma.
ridiculous.
Dr. Quinn, medicine woman.
Oh, wow.
That's not as good as Murder, She Wrote.
No.
But I don't.
It's subjective. That show's a
but,
banger.
Let me ask this question, and it may be a stupid one. I got to be honest. While I know that it should have a comma between the murder and the she, I don't think of it as having a comma between the murder and the she. I thought it was just Murder, She Wrote, 3 words with no comma.
How would that make sense though, as like grammatically? It's Murder, She Wrote.
Understood.
She's a
wrote about
writer.
murder.
Definitely a comma.
You're right that it doesn't make sense grammatically, but also it would have a period at the end of wrote if we were trying to make it grammatically correct. Like, that's not what we were going
Jesus,
for.
I mean-
I know. I just thought it was Murder, She Wrote. I did not think of a comma being in there. I'm sorry. My apologies. I did not expect the punctuation conversation to break out around Good Riddance.
But you're saying if they're going comma there, they need to finish it off with a period.
If the effort is to be grammatically correct, yes.
Huh.
Meh.
Okay,
Yeah.
understood.
Thank you.
Yes.
welcome.
Yes.
It should be She Wrote About Murder.
No, that's no fun.
Yeah.
No, that's wordy, and you seem to be objecting publicly to the idea of everybody's in such a big hurry that they've got to make it an acronym instead of just saying all of the words to make it convenient for you.
Yeah, I mean, sports teams could adopt that, and all of a sudden, they're no longer the New York Yankees, they're the NYY. Put an exclamation point on that. Yankees! Jeopardy! Yankees! Exclamation point.
Does
You gotta
Yes
draw the
Network
line
have an
somewhere.
exclamation point? I feel like it might. Also, when Murder, She Wrote and Magnum P.I. did their crossover, double commas in that situation.
I actually just came up with what I think is a decent idea for a professional sports team, which is put an exclamation point on your name. Make it Yankees exclamation point and create an entirely new marketing stream. Be the first, right? There is no team that has an exclamation point on its name, that punctuates its name with an exclamation point. But you're thinking you don't use it very often. I know that in writing it's frowned upon, that the exclamation point is a bit of punctuation that other punctuation looks at and says you're too loud.
Yeah.
You're too much. You're
That's
not.
true.
You have no subtlety.
It's fake excitement.
It's not fake excitement.
It is in times,
It's just too overt. It's punctuation is meant to not get in the way. Exclamation point is a little bit look at me.
Also, when my wife texts me, the exclamation points in her texts are way overboard. Like there will be 5 exclamation points. Did you see this? And it's a question, but she'll put 5 exclamation points at the end of it. It's just, it's an epidemic, really. It's an epidemic that we're talking about.
Greg, she's excited. Whatever she's sending you, she's excited
Yeah,
about
I'm
it.
with my dad,
One
though.
exclamation point is necessary.
You also, if you have multiple sentences, they can't both have exclamation points. Like
Yeah.
something, you ever exclamation point the first sentence and then you write a second sentence, you're like, oh, this one deserves it more. So you go back and you take out the first
Exactly.
one and only have one because you don't want to. It's like you're shouting at someone if both sentences have an exclamation point.
I want to ask Greg and Stugotz something as people who are vigilantly and militantly against learning and new information. Because while Jeremy was talking, giving what could be seen as good empirical information on Jimmy Butler
If
for
you say so.
how you would quantify quitting, Stugotz muttered in my earpiece, numbers. So many numbers. And stopped listening to Jeremy entirely, even though Jeremy was giving facts that would quantify quitting, which I thought is something that people love to yell about in this particular endeavor that we do. Loved calling someone else a quitter. I think fans love, media people love to do that.
Yeah, and I rarely do it. So when I call him a quitter, I think I can back it up. And what Jeremy said, is it TMI? Of course it is, because it's like telling me that he's running 19.6 miles an hour instead of 21 miles an hour. You know, it's just my head explodes. But when the too much information is backing what I believe in, then
There we go.
it's necessary. It's necessary.
Then you like
information.
it, yes.
Thank you.
I've been talking with Greg and Stugotz about this for probably a decade, and I think I just end up being wrong, even though when it comes to content, people really want information right up until it's not information that they want. And to me, it's a bit confusing, because I would want anything that proves to me something that I suspect. But you guys don't want that information. I saw Stugotz actively stop listening on the second or third number that Jeremy gave, because the math, and this is an American affliction, the math is something he doesn't want to play with. He doesn't want math anywhere near his sports.
It's a combination of the numbers and the messenger. I don't care, by the way, how fast he's running, if he's running fast, how often he's running. I don't care. That's his job. His job is to run. Here are stats that I care about, Dan. He didn't smile during the pregame. He wore Phoenix Suns colors a couple of nights ago.
That was annoying.
And he sat a couple of seats away from any of his teammates. Those are the stats I care about. Quitter. That's it.
Here is
Fast, run
information
fast.
people really want, Dan. Alan Ludden was married to Betty White before he died.
Oh, wow.
Imagine that.
Did you know that,
Yeah.
Greg?
She got around, Betty.
Oh, come
telling
on.
you.
Man, that's
What
a
are you
power
talking
couple.
about?
Seriously.
Come on.
She was married a few times.
Yes, she was.
That's not an insult.
Baby.
She lived a
I
life.
mean, come on. Betty in it.
We should all be so lucky to live Betty White's life.
Put it on the
Damn
poll,
right.
Juju at Le Batard Show. Should we all be so lucky? She's not old at all, Jessica. Should we all be so lucky to live Betty White's life? And also, have you ever heard Betty White accused of getting around? Because that's the first time I've heard that accusation.
We could probably leave the second one off.
I'm asking if you've ever heard it, because I've never. Betty
You
White.
have heard it. You just did.
Yeah.
It's the first time. Betty White is an American icon. Betty White is one of the rare people who gets to be universally beloved. Her and Dolly Parton. I don't know if there's a third.
Yeah, but she wasn't always a lovable 90 years old. You know, I mean, when I say Betty White got around, I mean, when she was a young woman, it's quantifiable. I don't say it as a pejorative. Okay, I don't say it as a. I don't look.
It is.
I don't look down
it's
on women
judged
who
as
choose to be
pejorative.
married several times. You know, it's fine.
Saying.
You know, got no problem with it.
Saying a woman got around tends to be viewed as pejorative.
Does
it's
it?
not It's well. Why say it?
Well, because Betty White, how many times was she married?
3 times.
3 times.
Okay,
She
that we
was
know
Once
of.
to a man named
That we
Dick
know
Barker.
of.
Right.
Dick Parker?
Dick Barker.
Oh, Dick Barker.
Yeah.
Wow, what a name.
Not as good as Dick
name.
Wolf.
There's actually a website called who'sdatedwho.com. On here, it says she's had 4 relationships, the 3 marriages you guys referenced, and she also dated Phil Cochran from 58 to 62.
There
It's
you go.
unbelievable
Cocky.
that you went Cochran.
So I found another show with
got a type?
an exclamation mark in it called Just Men. Greg, have you heard of this show? Betty White was the host, or she started it apparently
was.
in the
bet she
80s.
did.
And it pitted 2 female contestants who were asked to predict answers to a series of yes-no questions posed previously to a panel of 7 male celebrities.
Wow. I had never heard of that. What's it called again?
Just Men, exclamation point. So
Oh,
you would
boy.
hate it.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cochran.
Dick Cochran.
Phil. No, it's Phil Cochran
Oh.
and Dick Parker.
Okay.
No, Barker.
Dick Barker. Yes.
Sorry.
I would have had a chance. John Wiener. Huh?
Then she dated an Alan Ludden and an Lane Allen. She's very
Steve Martin.
wild.
Not listening. Venmo fine bucket.
That's for you, Chris.
And we're going to start doing this. We're going to start paying this. We can't be asking for big sponsors to join us and then do the same stuff we've always done.
I'm waiting on a code.
I'm walking you out there.
Okay.
But Billy does this thing too. You guys
I'm
let
gonna
him get
pay-
away
look,
with it.
I'm
Cody,
gonna-
you.
I owe $12. I'm going to do it right now. I owe $12 from before, and I'm going to do it right now to get us started because we have not done this right with Venmo. So let's see here. I'm going to do it.
I
I'm
owe
promising
$10.
you.
Please don't
pay.
reveal the name.
I'm not allowed, yes, to reveal the name because then all of a sudden our fans would be sending us all sorts of money, and we wouldn't want that under any circumstances. I am doing it right now. $12.
Wow.
Pay. And it's saying, what's this for? And I'm not telling you what's it for.
Just
What
put
do
an
I have to
emoji
say?
in there. It's all right.
I don't want to know.
Is
You
it?
have to put an emoji. It makes you can't just like have
All right.
an empty one.
All right,
And make it private because you don't want people like I hate it when people like just like let the world know that they just had ice cream.
So $12 it is. I'm in.
Dan, you just sent me a deposit for $12,000.
Oh.
This
Greg
is a very
Cody.
real thing that can happen.
Do
Is it
you
to me?
have a Venmo, Greg Cody? Do you have it installed and ready to go because you owe money and it's
Yeah.
a new day around here? Once Venmo gets involved with the sponsorship of these things, we have to respect the sponsor. So what are you doing, Stugotz? Did you do it or not?
I'm waiting for a QR code. Mike's going to take me out during the break, and I'll send what I owe for today's fine. I think it's $4. So
I owe 10, I think, and we'll pay it. I love Venmo. Big fan of Venmo. My wife handles my Venmo affairs, so she's through her. It will be paid.
No,
for
we're gonna
sure.
no, we're gonna do it before you leave here today.
I dialed 1-800 Venmo. Nobody picked up.
Greg, how do you feel about dollar signs in a title, like the $10,000 pyramid show, hosted by Dick Clark? I might add.
it's a great show.
Another Dick.
No, I don't like that either.
What are you talking about?
It's
I know, but you love
dollar
that
sign.
show. I know you love that show.
The pyramid.
Yes.
I have watched it.
It's a good show.
It's a
I
great
Betty White
know.
was on that show.
I used to love Hollywood Squares,
Right.
which might have had an exclamation point, but didn't.
It's back now. It's back on CBS.
The squares?
Yes.
For like the fourth time.
Pyramid is now $50,000, is it not? Or the highest?
It's $100,000.
$100,000.
Inflation. Only place where inflation's keeping up.
Is that a Game Show Hall of Famer? Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Is $10,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 Pyramid a Game Show Hall of Famer? Because I think it is Mark Andrews, an immortal. But I don't think that everybody would think that. Because the immortals are Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy and Family Feud. Like once you get into that second tier of game shows, there tends to be a pretty big gulf between the first ballot Hall of Famer and somebody who gets in on the 15th pick.
What I love about the Pyramid is I think it has the best way of settling if you're going to win big money or not. Like, I think there's a minute there where you're just intrigued because you want to see if this person can fill the entire pyramid before 60 seconds is up with the right clues, right? I think that's the best way of settling a game show.
The way that I assign Hall of Famers is if you're in your last round, am I watching? No matter what's happening, am I stopping what I'm doing? Like, I will do this on Price is Right? If you're in the showdown portion of the show, or if you're spinning the wheel, I'm going to stop for a second. I'll do it with Family Feud as well. There aren't that many that you will do this with.
I hate the rounds that lead up to the final rounds in the pyramid. I don't like that. I just want to get straight to it. Straight to the $50,000, yes.
I agree. We all love a pyramid visually. Pyramids are fun.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, pyramids are fun.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do we all love a pyramid?
Yep. Dollar bill's got a pyramid on it.
I think it's a good shape, right, Greg?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's it's wonderful. I would love to visit a pyramid in Egypt. Supposedly, Egypt does not have the most pyramids. There's another country. I can't think of which one. I think it's in South America.
That seems impossible.
It'd be a better stat if you knew the country.
It really would, yeah. But I'm giving you what information I know, which is a little bit enlightening. Because if you ask 100 people what country has the most pyramids, knee-jerk, everybody says Egypt, right? But I think it's like Bolivia or someplace.
It's Sudan.
Sudan.
Yes.
There you go. Okay.
Wrong continent, but that's okay.
Wrong continent. Not South America at all. But, a lot
you
of
would have
deserts.
lost that game of pyramid.
Is it Sudan or the Sudan?
Sudan.
Are you sure?
With an exclamation point.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
This is a clear-cut end to the Butler-Heat relationship.
This relationship has been over.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here off the court, but I want to be back to somewhat dominant.
Can you get your joy back here on the court?
Probably not.
Jimmy Butler's got a trade he's demanding, doesn't want to play for Spo. For 7 games now he's out, he's suspended, vibes are at an all-time low. No, we can't forget when Jimmy made the Heat a finals team. He's become a menace, Riley's gotten way too old for his.
Jimmy Buckets ain't just gonna stand there in the corner. And y'all, he's 35, no, he ain't getting any younger. He's lost a couple steps, no longer alpha or a killer. Best review the situation that you caught up in. He's done this almost everywhere else that he's been. How can we be surprised that he's doing it again? Now we can test the market for an old malcontent to wanna talk or think about all of the money that we spending.
Says he'd pay for Atlanta, just not the Heat. Maybe even for Toronto, just not the Heat. Send his ass to Indiana, just not the Heat. Could even trade him to Utah, just not the Heat. Could get his joy back in Denver, just not the Heat. Could sell his coffee as a Clipper, just not the Heat. Maybe a Buck or a Blazer, just not the Heat. He says he'll play anywhere, just not the Heat.
I know I keep saying that people are sick of this Jimmy Butler story. I just want to put in front of you the idea, because I don't know how the rest of you have felt about what are your greatest public embarrassments, the worst you have ever felt in public because people are laughing at you. The reason I bring it up is because of the part of this that I'm interested in most now, which isn't, Jeremy was saying during the break to me, he was saying it's crazy to see someone burn up all of the collateral they have with the fan base at the end. And I'm like, it's what Damian Lillard wasn't willing to do.
Right.
And this is why he didn't want to do it. He doesn't want to ruin the 5 years. But I'm asking you, what do you imagine after Pat Riley's resume is what it is, with the added bonus of this? He's 78 years old. There is no reason for him to keep doing what he is doing, except it's everything he is. It's who he is. His identity is never being embarrassed like this in public by I don't have the power. Like that's a dinosaur in basketball now. He wrought it, and now it threatens at the end to try and make him extinct because he's still leaning into, oh yeah? Oh, you're going to do that? Okay, here's another suspension. And here's another suspension. And watch how unpleasant it is to come to work every day. Oh, do you realize what you're fighting here, Jimmy? Because all of the conflict in this furnace, this building that feeds us to get us to Boston, all of that conflict now turns against you because, as Udonis says, you're either all in or you're all out. And they got somebody in the building walking around who's clearly all out. And I'm like, how does that land with someone who's 78 and more than Mark Andrews as an immortal? Like, how does that legitimately land to be publicly, to have the thing that you are publicly embarrassed? You will respect me in this sport. I'm still doing this approaching 80, even though I've won for 6 decades everywhere I've ever been. And damn sure he believes he's the reason for the winning. You could say it's the players, and he'd say, it's an awful lot of different players in an awful lot of different cities, and the only one who's always around the winning is me. So he's Belichick. And Butler's not Brady. And even when Brady didn't like Belichick, Brady didn't do this in public. Like, there was not an attack and a disrespect of who Belichick is and the identity and the principles he believes in that is basically urinating on midcourt. Like, that court's named after him now. And it's basically just pissing on midcourt. And that part's super interesting to me. Who wins when it's the dinosaur of authority against everything that's been empowered by the last 15 years of Heat basketball?
But Jimmy's not attacking Riley personally with this, is he? It's just he wants to get paid, and he's not paying him. Has Jimmy been coming out, like, going at Riley? It's
like,
more
Riley's a bad dude.
Like, I haven't heard that. It's more just like, pay me or I'm out of here.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. I'm saying this is personal the moment you embarrass his organization. It's not any words on it. It's your being the antithesis to what it is that I demand. Like, my core principles on how it is I arrive at excellence, you don't abide by them anymore, even though they've benefited you for 5 years. The part that I'm saying to you guys is whatever Jimmy Butler's ego is here, Riley's is larger.
But maybe Jimmy is hurt here, Dan. Maybe he did all the things that Riley and Spo told him to do, and he turned into the best form of Jimmy Butler that we've ever seen. He's been to the finals. He's been to the conference finals. He has done things that we didn't anticipate Jimmy Butler could do, and now he wants to get paid for them.
Yep.
And they're unwilling to pay him.
Agreed.
So he's hurt.
That's right.
For what it's worth, they did already give him an extension. So it's not like he came here on some contract that was valuable while they had it, and then they never paid him more money. They paid him more money, and in the new version of the CBA, they're not willing to give him what is essentially the Kobe contract with the Lakers, right? Like, that's their concern with it. I think Jimmy's game will actually age gracefully. Like, I think if he ends up in the right situation, he's going to be fine. But they don't want to pay him for past performance. They wanted to see this season, can you continue to prove to us that you can be that guy that leads a team there, or else we're going to use flexibility and move on. And now it's just a really, really ugly divorce from Jimmy Butler's most productive of his 4 marriages.
Let me show the audience a couple of tweets here. One is the first that Chris Cody says has ever gone viral for him. Chris Cody has never in his history of just sending out his thoughts, down the middle, Chris, has never had a tweet go viral. What is the tweet that you recently had go viral, and why did it go viral?
It's a benign tweet, I thought. So with all last week, Big Cat from Pardon My Take is getting a lot of crap about, it was revealed he's from Boston, even though he's a big Bears fan. The internet was just freaking out about people and their allegiances and can you switch teams. So I put out a very benign tweet. I wrote, normalize switching sports allegiances. Like, which is not even something I necessarily, it was really just trolling the whole situation in the internet. And this thing took off 18.4 million views.
That's insane.
By far my biggest, most viral tweet ever, even more viral than my tweet when I announced my departure from ESPN, because that one was very viral as well. But it's really just crazy to me because it's just a benign statement. Hey, I should be allowed to switch allegiances. And man, the internet not happy with me.
I saw some guys say they wanted to shoot you.
Oh my God.
And that had 200,000 likes.
If you want a good laugh, peruse through the quotes. It's just like, this guy's not a real man.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't get it.
John Gruden hated it.
I'd
then?
punch this guy in the face if I saw him right here. It's a lot of that. But hey, viral is viral. And I want and if you were wondering, how does your life change when you go viral? My 18.4 million impressions that I got on Twitter gained me 22 followers.
Wow.
Whoa.
Big day.
Congratulations.
Big
Wow.
day.
I want to show you guys another tweet that made me laugh because I don't know if you guys have realized this, but since being publicly punched in the face, Jordan Poole hasn't said very much publicly that is disparaging about Draymond Green. Talk about being embarrassed in public, by the way, when video leaks of you just being punched in the face by a teammate, it can short circuit your entire career. That embarrassment. So Jordan Poole writes on Twitter of his former Warriors teammates, I love most of the guys over there. And then sneaking into the comments, Draymond Green, I really am sorry. Draymond Green has done several podcasts, I think a docu-series, if I'm not mistaken, about everything that's happening here. Jordan Poole hasn't commented, and Draymond Green's just chasing him around the internet. Hey, I'm really sorry that my anger got the best of me. Like, it helped me win those championships, and I know it ran off Durant and made me punch you in the face, but we really used it for a long time for good, and I really am sorry. It's funny to see. I believe he is.
Do you?
And I believe that Jordan Poole will never forgive him.
He's in Washington.
That team is so bad.
So bad.
And they're going to trade Kyle Kuzma. They're going to get it worse.
It's addition by subtraction.
I have to make a correction, by the way. MASH took place in Korea, but it aired during the time of the Vietnam War, so it was sort of commenting on both. So it's my bad.
All right.
Greg, you should have known that, I feel like, as a MASH fan.
Right. I just don't know what the acronym stands for. Have we ever investigated that?
Mobile Army Surgical Hospital.
Okay.
And the asterisks were actually added by the network. That's not a Army nomenclature. They just were like, oh, this is cute.
Yeah, they did good work.
Is the asterisk a punctuation?
Yeah.
It
course
counts,
it is.
it
Yeah.
counts
Yeah.
as punctuation.
Duh.
I just don't think of it as punctuation. I think of it as something sort of numerical for some reason. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you guys to...
Dumb of you.
Yeah, I feel like a real fool for this.
Something you put next to a tainted championship?
It's a symbol. I think you're right. It doesn't...
I think it's grammatical. Like if you list the Heisman winners, you see O.J. Simpson, that one means murder.
Yeah, I mean, it's a symbol that you can reference what you're using the asterisk for something else.
There you go.
Put it on the poll. Is the asterisk considered punctuation? I wanted to ask you guys, in this economy, okay, if it is a good job. There is a job open right now that I wonder if any of you would want. I saw Patton Oswalt doing a bit recently, and it wasn't a bit because it happened to him, but it was part of his act, where he was saying that the Planters nut people sent him their car, wanting him an offer to use the Planters Nutmobile to take him somewhere. And evidently the driver of that thing now is a paid position. It has benefits. And what do you think that job would pay? And would you want the job, or does it depend on the pay? Do you think it would be fun to drive the Planters Nutmobile?
Actually, I know someone who used to drive the Wienermobile.
That was my high school car.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. It's like a 1-year contract, and you just drive it around. And usually it's people that have just graduated college, and you're just an ambassador for the Wienermobile, and you meet people. They drove it to Sports Illustrated once because they were in Manhattan, and Charlotte and I went and met them and took pictures in the Wienermobile. Very interesting. They go to sporting events and all these sorts of different things, and they're just like, yeah, we're we're here on behalf of the Wienermobile. Take pictures with our giant wiener.
How much do you think that job should pay? What would
load?
What would not the Wienermobile, the Nutmobile?
Very little.
Peanuts.
$45,000. So yeah, that's what it pays. Peanuts. $45,000. I don't know if and I imagine also peanuts, right? One would assume that you would get some sort of benefit. Can we get some more?
It should be one of the perks.
More
Dan.
information
Yes,
on this job, yes, because one would assume that peanuts would also be part of the payment. But $45,000, is that enough for any of you to be willing to do that job? Because the novelty would wear off shortly, and then you're just the person who's driving around in a golf cart that's shaped like a peanut.
I mean, do it now or straight out of college? That's a big difference. Like straight out of college, it seems like a great gig, no?
$45,000 a year makes it less than $1,000 a week, which then makes it less than $200 a day before taxes.
Do you call your car the Wienermobile, Stu?
The Jets golf cart?
No,
You could.
I don't.
I mean,
Yeah, you should.
Well, why should I do that? You guys want me to drive around in the Wienermobile?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
you
Okay.
already do.
Let's get it done.
Well, look, Billy asked me this question. Billy and I walked in yesterday just genuinely confused because I had a parking brake problem on my car, and so I was driving a loaner, which meant that my car was next to Stugotz's car, which was yet another rental. And we are really...
A loaner.
We're really curious, right? Because you come in here every day with a different car, and I know we've asked you about it before, and you've sort of explained that it has to do with your daughters being in town and how many cars you now have and don't have for multiple people. But it is jarring to see the number of different cars that you come in with. It's rarely the same automobile that you're coming in any day or any week, and it's weird. It feels like you're changing cars every day, like Joe Pesci in Casino trying to get away from the authorities because there are helicopters chasing him, and they've got too many people following him everywhere.
But I wear the same clothes every day. So, I mean, I'm not trying to get away from the authorities. The car situation is what it is, but I have a long drive. It is rough on the car. So when the kids are home, we rent cars because we don't have enough cars for everyone. So we have to rent cars because they're in college. They have cars in college. They're not driving them home. But on this particular occasion, I hit something on the turnpike going south at like 5:30 in the morning on a Monday, and a part came off of my car. I didn't get a flat, nothing. I drove all the way to work, but this part came off of my car, and it came off perfectly. But I had to bring it into the shop. They had to order the part. The part just got in yesterday. My car will be ready on Monday. You will see another new car on Monday. Wow. But that's the deal. That's why. It's just a loaner.
But do they know you by name at the rental
of course
car
they
place?
do.
Like,
Yes,
how does the whole relationship thing work? Because surely you guys
I'm like
have thought
Norm
that,
there. Yeah.
Chris, you have thought this too, yes?
I've got him. This is like a one text. I'll be there in 10. And they put the car out there, and it's there when he gets there. Like, I think this is like under the table. This is just...
You think Stugotz is
scratching backs,
a
like,
VIP
I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of thing.
client.
You think Audi is giving me a new car every couple of weeks?
I think that you got to hook up. Like
He's saying-
you've bought enough cars with them that they're like, we got to keep this guy happy.
Yeah.
Stu needs a loaner. They're like
They let him smoke them.
They're canceling on someone who like reserved that loaner weeks in advance. Stu needs one.
He's
He'll be
saying
here
you're a
in 10.
VIP, that you roll into the rental car place and you are the king of that place. That you're throwing around all of the servers there, like at the restaurant where the guy walks in who's super famous, that everyone knows your name and is always giving you the best of the rental car perks.
Just dishing out pre-rolls for tips.
I feel like the Nutmobile
How'd you know?
parking situation alone warrants more than $45,000. If you have to parallel park the Nutmobile, good luck.
It's a big car. It's
Big
not
nut, yes.
it's not actually just a golf cart.
Isn't the Wienermobile longer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw a Red Bull car the other day driving along A1A.
With like a Red Bull on the top, yeah.
Yeah, it really didn't I think the Goodyear blimp invented that, right? Like the Goodyear blimp is the same thing but in the air as the Wienermobile. And
So the invention you're claiming is just a sponsored vehicle of some sort,
Yes.
famed for being not just a vehicle, but famed for giving the corporate sponsor a great deal of fame. You're saying the inventor of that was the Goodyear blimp, that nowhere before there was there a vehicle that was sponsored by anybody. What was the Goodyear blimp before the Goodyear blimp for the vessel category? Because it's a good question he's asking. I think that I would also think of that as the most famous of the inventors, but I'm trying to remember what I forgot.
I got to see the Goodyear blimp in person, I think for the first time at the Orange Bowl. It was very special to me. I've never gotten to see that thing. There's not that many blimps in the world, and when you get one nearby, you got to soak it all in.
How many blimps do you imagine there are in the world? It seems like an inefficient vehicle. It's a novelty vehicle. There can't be that many.
I think there's like 6 or 7 or something.
I think the Goodyear blimp is one of 3. I think there's 3 Goodyear blimps, unless that number has changed.
You think Goodyear has half of the blimps on the globe?
I think so, yeah.
That can't be right. That can't be there are 6 or 7 blimps on the entire planet.
I thought they had all of them, to be honest with you.
MetLife has a blimp.
It says there are about
really?
25 blimps that exist. About half of them are still in use. Also, on the measurements of the Nutmobile and the Wienermobile, same size.
Are you talking about Goodyear blimps specifically?
Talking about blimps.
Okay,
period.
so I see that there are 4 Goodyear blimps.
Okay.
Right.
One of them must have had a baby. But Roy's right.
What a visual that's
The
created.
MetLife blimp is a
It's
thing.
a big nut.
MetLife just has one. MetLife looks at Goodyear and
Snoopy won.
It's just mad about, man, you got 4 hangars for the blimp and we only have 1. We feel so inferior to you, Goodyear, as MetLife because we only have 1 piddly blimp. You're telling me the blimp is endangered then. The blimp is officially endangered if there are only 20.
I don't think he was ever thriving.
No, it was. Stugotz, the Empire State Building was actually built so that it could dock a Zeppelin at the top of it. This was like the vehicle of the future at one point.
Yeah, the Hindenburg.
But then they were very dangerous and obviously blew up, and it was not so great.
Are there differences between blimps and Zeppelins that I don't know about? Are there like 40 Zeppelins? Is that a different category, or is that just a synonym for blimp?
I think Zeppelin was like the company, wasn't it? That's why they were called Zeppelins.
Yeah, they couldn't fly. They were made of Led Zeppelin.
I knew it was coming.
Very heavy vehicle, low mileage. You can imagine. We got liftoff. Oh, no, we don't. We're made of lead. Can't fly. Very heavy. I think it costs the Goodyear blimp like $5,000 to take off every time.
Really?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Can we look that up, please? And I want to know, even though looking things up on the internet can be dangerous, I need some clarification on something because, again, I don't know if I'm being fooled. I don't know if the internet is fooling me. I don't know if Billy Corgan and Bill Burr are fooling me. But I think it should be bigger news if indeed Bill Burr and Billy Corgan realized recently that they are brothers. I think that's something that if it's real, it's something that should be bigger news. But I'm not sure because it happened on Howie Mandel's podcast. I think of Billy Corgan as an amazing interview and someone who is clever enough and funny enough to be in on a bit. And I know Bill Burr is funny enough to be in on a bit. Is this true?
I think this is, but you mentioned it's Howie Mandel's podcast, and we ran a Dana White clip that seemed very real, and the logic was, well, Dana White can't possibly be that good of an actor. And it turned out, we found out like a month and a half later, Dana was doing a bit.
He stormed off threatening to never be on podcasts again.
Yeah, he's like, I'm just done. And Howie played it great. Dana did too. And Dana revealed in another interview later on that, no, Howie came up with this idea. But the seeds of this actually began about a month ago on Howie Mandel's podcast when Billy Corgan was there and he kind of revealed this. We have a clip here, and I hope this clip provides context, but if it doesn't, Billy Corgan revealed that his mother pulled him aside fairly recently and said, hey, you know that comedian Bill Burr? I think he may be your brother. And like a whole secret family situation. So Howie Mandel surprises Bill Burr with Billy Corgan as he has Bill Burr on the show. And this is what happens.
So Billy Corgan was nice enough on my podcast to talk about the fact that he told a story that he had never told before, that his father traveled.
My stepmother said to me, do you know who Bill Burr is? Bill Burr might be one of the children that your father sired in his days on being a traveling musician.
If you do the math,
He was a piece of
with you.
And he had two kids this close together, and he named them the same name.
Yeah.
He thinks it's different because he's Billy and I'm Bill. Like, that's how he told the difference.
Well, I was Bill when I was young. But you're right. I mean,
you know, but I just would prefer if you just kind of didn't
Fuck
go
off.
around. No, not telling these stories. Like, why did you feel the need to do that?
okay, can I give you the setup on all this? Because it's his fault.
You can do whatever you want because you kind
No,
of
I'm trying to
already
be
did that.
Okay, I'm trying to be respectful.
Now you are.
Okay, no, wait. He told me you were cool
You're
with
a
me.
Cubs fan? That tracks. Does YouTube give you awards for
setups?
Healing fathers who secretly have two families?
This is some Dr. Phil going on here.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that you guys should take a moment.
I think we're on the same page thinking that you're kind of a right now.
Bill Burr seems like the wrong guy to surprise that with.
I mean, Bill Burr certainly had received word of Billy Corgan's appearance, and he references like, "Did you ever think that I kind of knew about this and I never went on a podcast to reveal it? Like, I didn't want it out there." Like, they leaned into this weird brotherly contentious relationship at a certain point. Bill Burr's like, "What, you think we're just going to play catch now to Billy Corgan?" Like, the whole thing is really captivating, and I believe it. It is a little open-ended. You don't get like 100% confirmation that this is real. If it isn't, I mean, that Howie Mandel's 2 for 2 with stunts. But I kind of believe this one, and if I'm a fool, I'm a fool.
Billy Corgan, not the same as the Because Miami host. Billy, maybe a little
That's
clarification.
Billy
there.
Corbin.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
Billy Corgan.
Well, we don't know how much.
Right. Yes.
The father actually
We don't know
traveled and
anything.
got around.
Yeah, right.
And it seems like, he loves that first name.
That is such a good acidic line for Bill Burr to spit. You think we're just going to play catch now. And visually, it's uproarious to just put them next to each other and say, yeah, they're brothers. just visually to make the joke if it's not true. But that was uncomfortable enough, and I've been in at least one uncomfortable situation with Bill Burr. You do not want to be on the wrong end of everything that's happening there. In fact, there are comedians throughout the comic world who love Bill Burr and won't pick up the phone because they're terrified when his rage is coming their way.
He is intimidating.
Oh my God!
Yeah, your appearance with him and Bert was really uncomfortable.
There are so few people doing it at present who have graduated from the Dennis Leary time in comedy to still be doing angry comedy in a way that's likable. He has been so good on the health insurance stuff, and he's been so good as a comedian who connects with every man out there spitting bile all over the place. You know what I saw the other day that caught me off guard for a couple of reasons? On Tubi, which I don't watch, there was a movie, The Thicket, made by Tubi. I did not know that Tubi made movie. It has Dinklage in it. Juliette Lewis is great in it. It is a Western, and it has commercials, but also good in it, and it surprised me. Andrew Schultz. I've never seen him act before, and they were asking him to have a character that had some range. And my wife practically spits at the television as soon as he comes on. Just his face. It's just his face.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think it's the comedy. It's just Andrew Schultz's face, which is pretty perfect for a Western, you have to admit, because he looks like somebody who would tie somebody to railroad tracks. Do you guys watch Tubi at all? I did not know that Tubi was making good
I
movies.
watch all Potential Partners.
I just wasn't I was not.
You were sprinting away from Tubi. Like you went out of your way to say, hey, I don't watch it.
No, I'm pointing out that this was a source of discovery for me. I'm not meaning to disparage Tubi. I just don't want to watch stuff that has commercials. And now you're giving me a movie that's got Dinklage and Juliette Lewis in it, but you're going to make me watch commercials on it, and I did it because I enjoyed the movie. But did you know that Tubi was making its own big movies?
I have no idea what I'm watching, where I'm watching it. I've subscribed. I travel so much. I've subscribed to so many things and taken their free trial, and now I'm paying $29.99 a month. I have no idea.
I agree.
You are the everyman here.
I mean, I'm watching something. I have to ask my wife, what channel are we? I still use the word channel. I don't know whether it's Apple TV or Netflix or Tubi, to be or not to be, as far as I'm concerned.
That is the question.
I'm lost when it comes to channels.
Put it on the poll, Juju. To be or not to be. Spell it Tubi. And also put on the poll, did you know that Tubi was making its own independent movies? Juliette Lewis, again, was great in this. She's great in general, but I had never seen her like this. And I don't know that I can give a higher compliment these days, the way that they've made our options so specific and removed so many inconveniences. I don't know that I could give a movie higher praise than, okay, I'll watch it with commercials. If I have to watch it with commercials, I will, because I don't know when this happened to me. I wasn't even aware of it happening to me. But at some point, I made the choice. Very few movies of any kind are ever going to make me sit through commercials ever again. I don't feel like I chose that. I feel like that was chosen for me by just that the general movement these days to put so many conveniences in front of you that Stugotz is going to get tricked because he can't remember to cancel his free trial.
It is pretty insane. If this is indeed true, that Billy Corgan and Bill Burr have been brothers this whole time. Just really talented dudes doing their own thing, and in their 50s they find out they're brothers.
Their father got around.
Mm-hmm. Like Betty White.
Yeah.
That was the joke I was making.
Okay.
A Zeppelin is a type of rigid airship named after the German inventor Ferdinand von Zeppelin, who pioneered rigid airship development at the beginning of the 20th century.
Mm-hmm. So it is a blimp or it's not a blimp?
They're similar, but yes.
There are 20 of those roaming around, Zeppelins.
So you got 25 blimps, half of them work, and you've got 20 or 25 Zeppelins, and we don't know how many of those work. Do we know the difference between a blimp and a Zeppelin? What kind of distinctions are we making between those two things?
I think maybe the frame of it, rigid airship, makes me think that it's...
For the Zeppelin, yeah.
But the blimp is it not a rigid airship as well? Like, I think of the blimp as almost entirely impractical.
No, I think of the blimp as a floaty boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. More like a hot air balloon, I think.
Yes.
In a way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you could put wheels on a Zeppelin and drive it on the street, but I wonder if that would be legal.
It would not be street legal. It would obviously obviously not be street legal.
It'd be tough to make a sharp turn.
Right. Or any turn.
Overhead clearance issues.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
Wide loads.
Yeah, just a thought.
Zeppelin does not own the Goodyear blimps, by the way, just to clear that up. So, ramble on.
No.
Chris Cody, your disgust with your father is so palpable.
Way too comfortable.
When he gets that, no, but it's how good he is at it. Look, don't turn your back on him. He's the best bleeping host in the game.
There you go.
How dare you disrespect your father by expecting him to talk close to a microphone?
I mean, it's a giant mic. It should be able to pick me up.
Your gems are so good that the microphone should come to you.
Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Gemini. I don't even know what that means. Yeah. I don't know horoscopes.
Right.
Like, what is a Gemini?
Tell us all you know about it.
What are you, though? I mean,
I'm a Virgo. I know I'm a Virgo.
You are a Virgo.
Tell us what you know about all of them. Go ahead.
I don't know. I don't follow the horoscope. You know, I'm not Ricky Williams. I mean, I don't do that kind of thing.
Which ones can you name?
Exactly.
How many of them can you name?
Okay, Sagittarius.
Right.
Capricorn.
Yep.
Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
Gemini.
Yep.
Is Gemini
Yes.
Your son's one.
Congrats. Pluto. I don't know. I literally can't. I literally can't name them all.
I know you went from like a NASA thing to an outer space thing with Gemini and Pluto there.
Ever since Pluto was devalued as a planet, it gets no respect. So I thought I'd name it as a
unfair to Pluto, right?
Yeah. Crazy. Bring back Pluto.
Yeah.
But what are the other horoscopes?
That's not necessary. It's okay. The joke runs its course the moment you get 4 out of 12.
Betty White was a Capricorn.
Was she?
Wow.
How about that? Sounds like a car.
Explains a lot.
What do you drive? A Capricorn. A Sagittarius. They all sound like cars.
They do.
You know, a Gemini. I think Gemini is a car.
A Buick Sagittarius.
A Taurus is a car.
I had Sagittarius as Ford, a Ford Sagittarius.
Yeah, no, that's good. I always thought the former NFL commissioner sounded like a car. I drive a Ford Tagliabue. You know, I mean,
so good.
There's so many things.
You're
that
so
sound
right.
Like
The Chevy Tagliabue. That is fantastic, Greg.
Thank you.
Put it on the poll,
A
please.
Tagliabue.
Yes. Tags.
Yeah.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Would you buy a sports car that was a luxury Tagliabue? It is a great name, and now I defy the rest of you to come up with a sports name for a car better than the Tagliabue.
Oh, man.
I defy all of you to use all of sports names throughout the history of sports names in order to find something better than the Ford Tagliabue.
I think Led Zeppelin was like a play on words, like a Led Zeppelin, a balloon that was going to be full of lead that would go down.
Yeah, it goes over like a lead balloon.
Exactly.
Jeremy told me like crazy trivia about Led Zeppelin that I had no idea about.
Yeah, before they were officially called Led Zeppelin, when they were kind of creating the origins of the band, Steve Winwood almost ended up the lead singer.
What?
I cannot think of a more different lead singer for Led Zeppelin than Steve Winwood.
Wow.
What about T-Pain?
Okay, that works. Thinking of the time.
I saw a T.I. concert on Saturday.
T.I.?
How was
Yeah,
that?
It's in Atlanta.
I love T.I. I think he's super underrated. Great catalog.
It was good.
He was in a really good era, and everybody was on the Lil Wayne stuff. I thought T.I. was a guy of that era.
I only think of T.I. Saving the life of a suicidal Scott Stapp here at Fontainebleau Hotel.
I think of Swagger Like Us.
I'm telling you, I've got the better story than you do when T.I. is rescuing the lead singer of Creed during a dark time.
Well, now I'm going to think about that.
Steve Winwood would also be a crazy lead singer for Creed.
Steve Winwood also.
Before the show, Mike Ryan was legitimately thrilled with something that Jeremy said. It doesn't happen very often. And he was thrilled specifically by the sports take that Jeremy has, that the MVP conversation, contract conversations, that as value increases in the sport, and we're always talking about money, that the MVP should be measured differently than it's presently measured.
It's been so difficult to move this big contract in Jimmy Butler. So I was thinking about, value in players and looking at the MVP race. I was wondering, in every conversation we have about basketball, we talk about the contracts and what they mean to their team as max players. So why don't we talk about their value when we're talking about the most valuable player? So as you look down the MVP odds, you see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right at the top.
He's having a moment right now.
He's been unbelievable. I mean, he is unbelievable.
Game day and
making $35.8 million this season.
Tires.
Nikola Jokic, second, making $51.4 million. But then you look at Victor Wembanyama, who has the fifth best odds according to DraftKings. And he's making just $12.8 million, averaging 24 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 blocks per game. You can go down to guys that are off the list. Cade Cunningham, who's leading the Pistons to the 6th seed in the East, averaging 25 points, 6.5 rebounds, almost 10 assists per game. He's making just $14 million. Alperen Şengün, who's led the Houston Rockets to the 2 seed right now in the Western Conference, he's making just $5.4 million, averaging about 20 and 11 for them. So the question is when we're talking about value instead of most excellent player, and we're talking about the most valuable player, why aren't we taking contracts into account and the production that they're giving you to allow a team to be built around you?
You guys got an answer?
I think this is a fantastic point of view. Because, it's in the name of the award, and because it's a cap sport, value is paramount. It's always associated with greatness. But what truly makes you valuable to a franchise? It's probably greatness and actual value. Jeremy, it's rare when I'm that impressed with something that you have to say.
Oh my God! Thank you, thank you. I don't know what to do with myself. What do I do with my hands?
You shut up. Stop talking. This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by Venmo.
Juju, please put this on the poll, and I ask for the audience for submissions as well at Le Batard Show. Which of these cars would you be most likely to buy? The Volkswagen Bolitnikov, the Ford Tagliabue, the Chrysler Concepcion, the Chevy Terrassi.
That's close.
That's good.
It's close. Tags is still atop the mountain.
Can I add one? A Dodge Durant.
You think the Dodge Durant is better than the Dodge Dorset or the Dodge Saberhagen?
I like Durant.
You
Dodge
like the
Durant.
alliteration?
Yeah,
you like
I really
the
do.
DD?
Terrassi, I guess because it's so close to Taurus, but Tagliabue.
I don't think we beat Tagliabue
I don't think
yet.
we've beaten Tagliabue yet either. At Le Batard Show, David Samson is with us. His podcast, Nothing Personal, covers an array of topics that is super unusual, and I don't think there's an individual host I've heard anywhere in sports with the terrain that he is covering in sports business and complicated issues. David, thank you for joining us. Before we get to the sports things of the day, though, the Oscars, you are obsessed with the Oscars more than just about anything in entertainment. Everything just came out. What is your experience with this stuff? Are you waiting somewhere at the appointed time to make sure you get the information because you care so much about whether or not the things that you thought were great in the movies are validated by the Academy?
Well, I do a live show for Metalark from 8 to 8:50 a.m. Eastern, and the Oscar nominations come out at 8:30. And so for the last many years, I have missed the live announcement, and I asked Coca, the producer, to feed the nominations in my ear as they're happening, and he refuses to do it because we're in the middle of a show. So then I end the show, and now I have to talk about them tomorrow, but I'm already caught completely up to date, and it's one of the great sadnesses of my life that I miss the live nomination announcements. I used to love it. There were times during owners' meetings when I would step out because they would happen things were different this year because of the fires, but normally on a Tuesday when I'd be in a meeting or a Thursday, whatever the day is, and I would literally step out and watch it live, but not this year, Dan.
David, what's going on with this Amelia Perez thing? Because look, for the record, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't been moved to see it. A lot of people whose opinion I value told me, this is not nomination worthy. And it's one thing to be nominated for a Golden Globe, but now it's nominated for Best Picture. It's got the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score by far. Not that that's going to be the end all and be all by it, but I've just seen isolated clips of this film, and it's kind of confirming to me that it's probably not that great. Surely there had to be a better film to round out this nomination field for Best Picture, no?
Well, it actually leads with 13 nominations, and it helps that it's in the international category. It's unbelievable. The story itself is unbelievable. Forget the fact that it's the first trans woman to be nominated for Best Actress, and her performance as Amelia Perez is the best of the year, but Demi Moore is certainly in leading right now to win Best Actress. But you've got songs, you've got music, you've got a story, you've got drugs, you've got sex, you've got Selena Gomez. You've got an unbelievably gripping tale of what it is to be in a cartel and decide that you've had a crisis of conscience, and it makes you change your entire life, including leaving your wife and kids in order to live your truth. And living truth when you've been part of murder and mayhem and money is quite difficult. It's an extraordinary movie, and before you criticize it, you should watch it.
Why is there such a disparity between nominations and a Rotten Tomatoes score? Is it because it gets politicized? Because anything on the internet that is made by someone who's a minority or a group that is transgender, you're going to get a wild fluctuation on the politics of a review?
No, I think it's anything without an exclamation point or a part 2 or Ryan Reynolds doesn't get enough attention. So this is just a movie that's not for everyone because it requires your head and your heart. And There's a lot of movies out there that are made for the lowest common denominator, and this is not one of them. And one of the great criticisms of the Oscars is that it really brings movies that are not widely seen to the forefront. Well, go see them because they're really good, and you shouldn't be afraid to learn. It's like, oh, this won the Pulitzer Prize. I can't read it. I'm going to stick with just reading Stugotz's book. That's not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to read books that improve your knowledge and intellect, and I think that's the same with movies.
To what you're talking about, Dan, and things being politicized, what's interesting about this is like the communities are sort of split on this. There have actually been several LGBTQ critics of this movie saying things such as it seemed like the filmmaker was painting trans women as liars. And GLAAD said it was a profoundly retrograde portrayal of trans women. So that's been most of what I have been seeing is actually people criticizing it from that perspective of, no, this isn't actually, even though we're using inclusion and using a trans woman as an actor and all of those things, it's actually sort of backwards in some of its ideals there. And so that's, I think, part of what has been the conflict. And also that Selena Gomez is not speaking very good Spanish.
The movie that we reviewed last week, Chasing Amy, had a lot of people from inside the LGBTQ community criticizing the movie Chasing Amy as though it did not properly portray what it is to be lesbian, or that you can become not a lesbian if you have Ben Affleck. Everybody's so quick to stand up and try to criticize. To me, I look at Emilia Perez, I look at it as a movie. I don't look at it as a trans movie or an LGBTQ movie or a black and white movie or a musical. I look at it as see what the story is, see what the acting is, the writing, the directing, the music, and it's got all of that. And so that is the reason why I'm a supporter of it.
David, Challengers, biggest snub, not getting a Best Score nomination?
Well, Atticus and Ross, as you know, they basically, the minute they put a note down, they're going to get a nomination. So that was a big surprise. The Challengers got nothing. There was a possibility in screenplay, but original score was supposed to be it. And listen, the movies that were nominated in the original score category, there are no schleppers in the category. The biggest snub of all for me happened in the documentary category, but you're right, Challengers not getting any love was certainly disappointing.
Don't you think that the film itself didn't do the score any favors? Because, like, in a vacuum, I loved the score too, but by the end, it was almost used comedically. And I found myself literally laughing at the score and the way that the film was using it. I guess that might be an argument for why it should be nominated.
Exactly.
But yes, I agree.
That's the best score ever.
It's like it's so good and it adds so much to that. Like, picture that movie without the score. It's kind of like what?
It's just like a horny alarm that goes off. Like,
it's
anytime it gets horny, we play
That's
this music.
The point. It's awesome.
But it's making me laugh at the end and not taking it as seriously. But I guess that's the point. I'm not supposed to take it seriously.
And you know how scores happen in that the movie is filmed, there's no music to it, and then you go into a edit bay and the movie is playing and there's the director sort of watching over the people doing the score and they're adding music. It changes the whole movie.
Yeah.
Scores to a movie actually are maybe the single most important thing that gets done after filming, even more so than editing.
Well, editing's up there, but you ain't lying, especially for certain genres. For horror, there's certain movies that you can't even imagine, like Psycho or Jaws, you can't imagine without the score. I guess the score in this film becomes a character in its own right. So, again, more arguments for it being nominated.
Look at this. Typical sports show arguing about scores. What are we doing?
David, I don't think that Mike Ryan and the time works out so that Mike Ryan can indeed nominate Mission Impossible for this year's Oscars, but it has been reported that someone had a heart attack while watching.
An almost heart attack.
An almost? Well, it's
an
a heart.
Heart
No,
attack.
it can
what's
be a
an
heart
almost
attack.
heart attack?
It can't. No, it's a heart attack, but it didn't end in death. It's still a heart attack. Is
It's
it
like
not?
when your right arm cramps. That's like an almost heart attack.
Yes,
You're like,
because of the stressful situation that I assume happens underwater. Keep in mind, Final Reckoning, it was supposed to be, the original thing was Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And they've just gotten rid of that, and they're just calling MI8 The Final Reckoning. But it is almost it is a direct sequel from the events from what happened in Dead Reckoning Part 1, which, as you know, has a submarine submerged in the Arctic waters. Ethan's going to have to go down there and get something. So I imagine he's going to drown and die for possibly the third time in this franchise.
Samson has very little interest in the Mission Impossible movies. But
Why?
You just
That's
did.
not true at all.
No, it's the
Dan.
greatest action franchise of all time.
Yeah,
Full
that's
stop.
not true what you just said. It's not just because it's not Academy worthy in acting or in directing or in writing does not mean I don't love being entertained. I've seen every single one. I don't like when you put me in the box because it serves the show or serves
You know what?
to have
Forgive
me.
me.
as this intellect.
I will apologize to you. I simply don't think of you and action movies because you never come on here wanting to talk action movies. I didn't think of that as a genre that you partook in because I can't recall in 20 years doing this with you coming on here wanting to review an action movie.
Well, the reason is that you guys do that without me. And what I try to do, including the movie I want to review today, is a movie that I don't know if everybody's going to see. And if even 5 listeners or whatever your reach and roar is, if anyone gets out of their comfort zone and just the way Mike Ryan has me get out of mine and watch movies that I otherwise would not watch, including what I'm watching this weekend, Mike, is nominated for 4 Oscars, is your best movie of the year.
Are you saying Nosferatu?
I just didn't want to say Nosferatu. I wanted you to say it because it's your movie.
To be
I'm
clear,
going to see it.
To be clear, it was a film that excited me the most. I don't think the best movie that I think I've seen all year from 2024 is probably Anora, but I have to get around. I haven't seen the bulk of the Best Picture nominations. I'll get around to every single one of them. I am a little disappointed that Nosferatu didn't crack like some of the 10 best films. I thought it did get nominated for cinematography, which I thought was just jaw-dropping in this film. So I'm happy that I'm getting you out of your comfort zone. And as you might agree that horror is really pushing like some of the most creative boundaries in cinema right now.
Well, I'm hoping it's not a jump scare horror movie because the last movie that you said I shouldn't watch, it really wasn't a horror movie. It was just a horror to watch it. So I do view those as different. The genre of horror to watch, you can put Schindler's List in that. Horror movie to me is, The Exorcist and The Shining. But I assume that Nosferatu is not that sort of movie. At least I hope not.
No, it's not that.
I want to ask Mike and David a question. When you both said during this segment, as you know, to us, did you guys think we really knew or were you faking it? As you know, as a crutch, were you confident that we knew or were you just lying to us being polite?
I'll start with that. That's a verbal crutch that I do that comes off as hugely condescending, and I shouldn't do it. Because when I say, as you know, what I'm really saying to someone, whether it's in a negotiation or just in a conversation, is, listen, idiot, I don't want to have to say this again. If you don't know this, it should be sort of imputed knowledge. So it's really said negatively, and I will try to cut that out of my speech patterns.
But do you recall what both of you said to us on As You Know? Because I don't know, but I didn't know when you said it. And in both instances, both of you were saying something that I thought was obscure enough that the audience and me did not know, would not know, could not be expected to know. I may have that wrong. I did kind of stop listening because it was so condescending.
David, are you in a retirement home?
No, I'm in the Otisaga Hotel in Cooperstown, not a retirement home.
Oh, nice drapes.
It's a place where Hall of Famers are. So I agree with you. It looks on the old side. It is on the old side.
I'm telling you right now.
You're on a wooden chair.
The furniture behind you is so very Cooperstown. It smells from here like Cooperstown. I feel like somebody in the 1930s has sat in that chair after being on a train riding across the country with Dizzy Dean.
I had the weirdest thing happen in my room today. Is that while I was in the bathroom and getting ready for my shows and going to sleep, I was thinking about which Hall of Famers were in this room, because this is where the Hall of Famers stay when they get inducted in July, and all the Hall of Famers come back, and we're here today to introduce the new class of Hall of Famers. And I never think this way because I always want to assume I'm the first tuchus to be in any room I'm in, because otherwise it's too gross. But I was thinking, like, what if Johnny Bench squatted right here, and I assume that something happened just like that in
that
this room.
hotel, just visually, definitely haunted. Like there has
doubt.
absolutely been ghost ass on that toilet.
David,
Call it the Nutmobile.
David, as you know, there is a controversy surrounding The Brutalist and its use of post-production AI to refine some of the Hungarian accents, which affects the performance and how we perceive them of some of these actors directly. And it may actually cost The Brutalist a Best Picture because it seemed like all the momentum was going towards that. But now you're going to have an AI debate surrounding one of the most critically acclaimed films of the year. What's your take on this?
Yeah, there are people in the industry who know the truth about this, which is that sort of AI engagement has been going on for a long time. And somehow it just came out, and you'd have to wonder, what is it a coincidence that it's around The Brutalist, which is obviously a controversial topic. It's a 3.5-hour movie that will make people examine things they'd prefer not to examine. But the movies, and as you know, Mike, there's a lot of fake stuff in the movies. As a matter of fact, everything is fake. Now, Tom Cruise may do his own stunts. Good for him. But there's a lot of stuff going on in Mission Impossible that may not exactly be as it seems. And the way movies are edited and cut and the way in which they're filmed, it's all meant to make the audience think something is happening for art's sake that's actually not happening. And if you think AI, the whole reason for the strikes was what AI was going to be used for. And if you take it even further, could AI replace certain things? And the answer is it certainly can, and it will.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. What would you be more likely to drive, a Porsche Candiati or a Lamborghini Scalabrini? At Le Batard Show, which one of those two automobiles would you be more likely to drive? David, I know that the audience and everyone here is tired of Jimmy Butler stuff. Do you have anything interesting that you believe is not being said at this trough of Pat Riley's way is being undermined from the inside in a way? And one of the reasons this show is reacting this way is because we've never seen it before.
I just hope Pat Riley stands his ground, actually. I hope that he tells the other teams, whether it's Phoenix, it doesn't matter who, that this is the package he wants, and he won't take anything less. And if Phoenix can go out and get it from Utah and myriad other teams and deliver to Pat a huge win for his franchise, then I'm happy to trade Jimmy. Otherwise, I'm happy to let him sit. Shooting 9 shots a game, playing 24 minutes a game, suspend him for whatever he does and try to save the money for Mickey. I'm in on all of it. I think that Pat Riley is over player empowerment, and he is manifesting this sort of angst and sick of it, and he's doing it all directed toward Jimmy, and I'm here for it. But in terms of his team and our team, I hope that he does not give in and trade Jimmy without getting back what he wants.
Jeremy, would you look something up for me, please? Because I should make a correction. While I've never seen it happen to Pat Riley in Miami, I did see it happen to him in New York. One of the famous funny stories is Anthony Mason was one of his players. Anthony Mason, Jay Fiedler's brother. At Le Batard Show, put that on the poll. Did you know that Anthony Mason and Jay Fiedler were brothers? At Le Batard Show. He was having all sorts of problems with Anthony Mason. He suspends Anthony Mason, or there was a fight or something, and Anthony Mason was seen at a time that people thought he should be taking basketball very seriously in the audience of the Ricky Lake show. And this was a very big controversy in New York that Pat Riley couldn't get control of Anthony Mason. Look up the details for me on that, because Anthony Mason had a number of different conflicts. It's what he's doing, David. What you said he's doing appears to be what he is doing. And I was just talking about what a misery it would be to step into that place. Like, I understand the player's got the power and stuff, and the player will make a mess, but man, what a misery. Like, if Jimmy Butler thought he wasn't having joy playing basketball before, to show up to work just to collect your paycheck so that your entire team could be looking for things you're doing wrong so that they could suspend you again, like, that's a horseshit situation to be in, to be walking into every day as an employee.
Haven't you ever been in an atmosphere in a relationship where people are separated or divorced but living in the same house for whatever financial reason, or people at work who don't get along but show up just to get their paycheck, and you can tell who those people are, that they're trying very hard not to do anything so they get suspended or they get fired? This happens in every workplace in the world, and basketball is no exception to that. And the thing is, in sports, we try to give in to players so much because we're worried about PR. Well, Pat Riley, with age and with success, hopefully is getting back to the point where his give a meter has lowered to the point where he doesn't get impacted by anyone saying or thinking anything about what he's doing. And that's why I think Jimmy Butler should just rot at the end of the bench. I wouldn't trade him even if I got the package I wanted for spite alone.
Oh,
but
my
I think
God.
Pat, I'm just telling you what I would do to Jimmy Butler for what he's doing to Pat Riley if I were Pat Riley. But I think Pat understands that if he can get the exact right package, he'll take it.
David, in your time with the Marlins, I wonder if you ever had a player who presented to you a Butler-type situation.
So the minute we left, Greg, Christian Yelich did it to Derek Jeter, and Derek Jeter sent Christian Yelich to the Brewers in what became one of the worst trades the franchise has done, except for the ones I did. And that was a major thing when the player doesn't want to be there. And Derek Jeter actually went public saying, I don't want players around who don't want to be here. Stanton many times said to me that he wanted to be traded. He wasn't happy with the direction of the franchise. And we had just said to him, we're not trading you. As a matter of fact, we're going to offer you so much money that we're going to make you stay here forever. And which is what we did. So there were players throughout, but a lot of them were side players, like a Jeff Baker, who is just a miserable, unhappy player. And what you do in that case is just release him.
David, good seeing you. Thank you. The podcast is nothing personal. I urge you to check it out, no matter where he is in the world, even if it's a haunted hotel in Cooperstown. He is doing it daily. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the time.
Take care.
I should have mentioned to him, and I will tell the audience, he did some very good work on Ichiro. He knows Ichiro, and I know that Greg Cody had his Hall of Fame ballot and was passionate about it, and we never got to yesterday all of the arguments that were breaking out all over the studio about an assortment of things. I heard you telling your son that you regret not voting for Juan Pierre. I thought you mishandled yesterday's show. I thought you creating the illusion that you were the voter who had snubbed Ichiro, the one vote that didn't make it unanimous for Ichiro. We still don't know who that voter is, correct? I believe that that voter has been called a numbskull by John Heyman, protector of the Hall of Fame and all sacred baseball things. And that voter hasn't been smoked out yet, correct? So that people can shame him or her for his or her terrible vote?
What are you willing to call them? Are you willing to go to dip?
Well, Greg Cody has a list, thank you for asking, Jessica, that is expanding throughout the show. Stugotz was helping him with it. It used to be a top 5 list of old people insults because numbskull is very good, but now we're ready to do top 10. Top 10 Greg Cody old people insults. Any OLI, or are we going straight to number 10?
We've cut out all the fat. We're getting right to the meat.
All right. Number 10.
Dip.
What is that?
Strong 10.
What is that?
It's a good question. We're on it.
A guy who doesn't vote for Ichiro to be in the Hall of Fame.
Nice. Okay.
I've got other questions like this because I put it on the poll. Do you know what a dip actually is? Because I don't know it as anything other than an insult. But I was thinking the other day out of nowhere on Mother Bleeper. Is that someone who bleeps mothers or screws them over? Like, which Mother Bleeper is someone who has sex with mothers or just screws them over? Someone who betrays mothers. I don't know which one of those two things it is.
I lean betrayal.
Do you?
Yeah, I think I would too.
You guys don't, you don't, okay. I would have assumed that that's someone who's having sex with mothers.
Then that would be a compliment. That'd be a cool guy.
Would it be?
That mother.
Oedipus.
So in the 1930s, dip didn't just mean like dipping something into something. It also was a slang term that meant fool or simpleton. So it was just basically combining that.
So a
shit.
fool dipped in shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 9.
Doofus.
Number 8.
Blockhead.
I think that's
Head of dip. Hey, it's my list. Get your own.
Fair enough.
Number 7.
Buffoon.
Number 6.
Numbskull.
5.
Loon.
That's very high. 4.
Fiend.
That's made a comeback. Number 3.
Nitwit.
That's a good one. What is a nitwit? What is just
I got your back.
It's just something that
Nit
rhymes
as
with
in
wit.
No wit.
Number 2.
Feels like this could have been a top 5.
Gutter snipe.
What?
Gutter snipe.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Have you ever heard the insult gutter snipe? Number 1. That's very high.
Nincompoop.
Nit comes from the Dutch word meaning nothing or not, combined with wit, which is,
no
signifying
wit.
one's
You got it.
intelligence.
Yes.
Witless.
Very good at origin words, I guess.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. I think the audience is going to side with me on this. I also think it's not something the audience has considered. Mother bleeper, ? Someone who bleeps mothers or bleeps them over at Le Batard Show.
I got your back. Hang on.
Thank you, Mike. I do appreciate you chasing all of these things down. Like the old days, it feels good. It feels good to just have Mike Ryan chase things around for me.
Honestly, AI has made this so much easier.
Where did you land, Cody, on Ichiro? Because one of the things that I have been trying to celebrate in sports around here over the last, I'm going to say, 10 years of watching everything become content, argument, culture, everything is to be complained about in sports instead of celebrating, is just that we're living in an era of real mastery. Like, to see LeBron postering people at 40 is crazy. Even as LeBron and Anthony Davis are saying we don't have enough help, it's just crazy to see Ohtani doing what he's doing after seeing Serena Williams do what she did. But what Ichiro did as mastery, because it came from another land and because he wasn't revealing in interviews and it could be hard to traverse the cultural language barrier, I don't think that people understand what we're talking about with what Ichiro could do with a baseball bat that had no precedent in the sport. I remember being in a clubhouse one time with Rafael Palmeiro and a baseball bat. And he is holding the baseball bat and he's bouncing the baseball on the baseball bat, and he could do it for an hour.
Like Tiger did with like a
he
ball?
could do it for an hour because he just knows how to land the ball on the part of the bat that he wishes it to hit. And Ichiro was more than whatever that mastery is. Like when I'm watching this documentary between Greg Maddux and Barry Bonds, and I'm watching the two of them talk about the level of expertise that we're talking about here, it's something that you'd hear from LeBron on his JJ Redick podcast, which is better partnership than the one they have in basketball. What Ichiro did professionally from another land is a bit of one of these mysteries where you're like, I don't understand how he was able to combine the arts from his homeland on discipline to do something that is a failure game, and he failed at it less than most because of how he could control a baseball bat.
I've got the origin of Mother Bleeper. So it's not actually bleeping one's mother. It was used like, you know how you have a huge battle, the mother of all battles? This Sunday we have the mother of all AFC games. So what this signifies is you are essentially the mother of all bleepers.
How about that?
That's a stunner right there.
ChatGPT, man.
People say they don't learn anything from this show. I'm saying everyone in the audience just learned that right now. I'm saying there's not a person who knew that out there, not one human being out there.
A little conflicted morally because of how great ChatGPT is in terms of an efficient search engine, but with every question that I ask it, it only gets more powerful.
Sometimes it is just wrong, though.
And I was like, yeah, I asked it, hey, can you give me some great television shows with a comma in it? And it gave me Friday Night Lights. And I'm like, ChatGPT, you're wrong.
So it's like mark too.
ChatGPT was like, you're right. I do have that wrong. I'm like, hold up.
So it's like Greg Cody. It's just like, look it up.
This is the first step to you falling in love with ChatGPT.
It's happening.
It's overrated. Google it.
I read an article. Some lonely people are falling in love with AI boyfriends because they just need a companion.
When you Google, there's AI too, Greg. So at this point, we have no information. And they're going to get rid of Wikipedia, so that's good too.
Okay. Yeah, Wikipedia's been trying to beg money for years now, huh? Whenever you go on it. No, Ichiro, in my 10 or 12 years voting, Ichiro and Derek Jeter have been the most perfect candidates imaginable. And it is funny, though, the fact that he didn't get one vote. He was one vote from being unanimous, and now it's a national scandal. Ridiculous. We don't agree with anything in this country. You could ask, do you believe in...
This is a new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I know that the great disparity of attention is going to be sent the way of the Chiefs and the Bills as we get to the biggest football weekend before the biggest football weekend.
The mother of all football weekends.
But the other game, because it's a division game, and because of a lot of other reasons, the quarterbacks aren't seen, don't have the history as the quarterbacks that we have in the other game, where you've got Buffalo and Kansas City. And we
just say it. The AFC's sexier, Dan. The AFC is just sexier.
It is sexier, but beyond that, I would ask you, what do I have to do with a quarterback to make Washington's story not feel like it's finishing a distant fourth place to these three other teams we're talking about? Because a rookie quarterback winning 2 road playoff games. Eli Manning cemented his Hall of Fame credentials by doing this through 2 postseasons. I don't think Eli Manning won another postseason game other than all the games he won on the road, the 2 years he won the championship. But Jayden Daniels is now, as a figure, someone who's probably just going to get better from here, probably just going to get physically bigger like Lamar Jackson from here, because he's listed at 210 pounds, and I don't know a lot of quarterbacks right now that are going at listed for 215 pounds. So when I say Jayden Daniels is going to grow as a quarterback, what do I have to make the rookie quarterback for you guys to believe in the idea of, yes, I've already seen what Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes can do, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it, but I haven't seen the ceiling on what this is. This is just getting started, and it has a chance to go into the most hostile place with a player at that position who seems to show no fear of going in to hostile places. Like the mastery that you're getting from Jayden Daniels at the position as a rookie. Greg, you're an authority on football, how hard it is to play as a columnist for a long time in the Miami Herald. I said before, Jayden Daniels is the best rookie quarterback since Dan Marino. Can you put into context what we're watching right now? A player who doesn't make mistakes when you're supposed to learn your way into the game by failing all over the place before you get to a level where we're watching something that you're taking out teams on the road.
Right. No, I agree with you that he's the best, most impressive rookie quarterback of this generation for sure. On the other hand, he's a pretty big underdog in this NFC title game. He will be an underdog if he makes it to the Super Bowl. So I don't think we want to crown him yet. You know, C.J. Stroud had a pretty damn good rookie season and then sort of had the sophomore slump. I think for Jayden Daniels to really reach the level you're talking about, he has to avoid the sophomore slump and really do it again next year. But they've had an extraordinary offense. Their defense isn't that outstanding. I don't even think Terry McLaurin had a great year, but I don't think he has an elite receiver like some teams.
No, Scary Terry's great.
I mean,
I love Scary Terry. He's a great player.
He's had a great season.
He's had a great season because the quarterback's finally there. He's had a couple of great seasons without good quarterbacks.
Okay. He is better at contested catches than anyone in the league. That's empirical.
Damn good player.
I don't think you can dismiss that.
Can I clarify? So he needs to, Jayden Daniels, do it in the playoffs next year while still in the playoffs this year.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. If you're talking about, you already have him in the Hall of Fame. He's had a great rookie season. He has terrific potential, but we've also seen quarterbacks across time, really, really impress us and wow us, and then sort of peter out a little bit. I'm just saying, let's not send him to Canton just yet, right?
Please put it on the poll, please. Does Jayden Daniels have to have a better year next year this year? Have a better year next year this year?
Well, let's frame this historically, because Greg said some of these quarterbacks tend to flame out. This has actually happened quite a bit. It's a fairly new phenomenon, but rookie quarterbacks making the championship game has happened five times previously. Most recently, Brock Purdy as a Mr. Irrelevant. It's kind of crazy that we forgot about that one already. In terms of rookie quarterbacks to win 2 road playoff games, Mark Sanchez did that. He got to this point, to the mixed bag POV. Joe Flacco, in his rookie season, made it to the AFC Championship game. Ben Roethlisberger made it to the AFC Championship game his rookie season, and so did Sean King for the Tampa Bay Bucks. He was the first to do that. So, bit of a mixed bag there. None of those rookie quarterbacks ended up going to the Super Bowl. Jayden Daniels would be the first one. And if you look at the list that I provided, none of those quarterbacks were the singular reason their teams found themselves in that spot. They were pretty loaded teams. Most of these built on their defenses. Jayden Daniels, I think we can reach consensus, is the reason the Washington Commanders are in this spot. If he makes it to the Super Bowl and is the first rookie quarterback to do that, we are in all-time territory. That is the greatest rookie season, I think, when you not only take into account individual accomplishments, but team, that's whole new ground that we're breaking.
That's the reason that I'm finding this being in the shadows to be interesting, because we're about to have a leap in stardom if he wins one more game. Like, I understand that football people know who this is, and I understand that all of us who are even casuals were like, yeah, Washington wasn't that good with those skill guys, and now they win games late, and he's unflappable, and he's just giving off this to his locker room, to his city, and to a loser. He's giving off this, I got this, in a way that's impossibly cool. I remember how Miami felt having Dan Marino, having the sensation that everyone's talking about. But the leap he's about to take, if he beats Philadelphia in Philadelphia, when we all know Philadelphia is better, and we're watching what is clearly the fourth best team. If Jayden Daniels can sneak in here somewhere, I don't know if people are rooting for it. I don't know what the United States is rooting for when it's Washington against Philadelphia. I know people this week got real prisoner of the moment, saying that this Barkley is the biggest Barkley in the history of Philadelphia around this show, that Saquon is bigger than Charles. But Jayden Daniels has a chance to do something uncommonly memorable here.
If you're talking about what America wants, I've been thinking this week, this may be a very difficult weekend for all of the haters, because you have two very long-suffering sports franchises that if you're not a fan of one of those, you feel petty and spiteful. Like, you don't want one of them to win before you do, right? Like, oh my God, I can't believe the Commanders are about to win a Super Bowl and my team is blah, 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 the Steelers. But then you have the Chiefs, who obviously they win all the time. That's not interesting either. And then you have the Eagles, who I think are one of the more universally hated teams. Not my opinion, just what your typical hater would think.
Are the Bills America's team?
Who's the lovable team in this? I guess most people would root for the Commanders or the Bills being first time in decades that they're in this position. That's interesting. But I think there are also a lot of petty sports fans that are like, screw you. You have Josh Allen. I'm sick of you. That's not fair. I wanted Jayden Daniels. Instead, I'm stuck with Caleb Williams, and the Bears stink, and now we're all having to convince ourselves Ben Johnson's going to be different this time.
Do you guys think that what might happen?
That's what someone else would think.
To you would happen. What happened to me during Lions and Washington, where I'm watching the game, and I think going into the game, I'm rooting for Detroit. Of course, I'm rooting for Detroit. Holy, I'm rooting for Washington. It starts happening, and I'm like, that changed on me while it was happening. I believe what Jessica is saying is accurate. The most lovable, benign thing that America could get behind is long-suffering Bills Mafia, fan base, that when Mark Andrews does that, finds a way to donate thousands of dollars to Mark Andrews because consistently Bills Mafia is doing something that is both kind and passionate and not whatever you think of Philadelphia fans. Even though that tailgating and breaking through flaming tables, like those people are nuts too, but they've got a charitable component and it masks some things. I think the Bills fan, 17 years without the playoffs before Josh Allen, 4 straight Super Bowls, losing all of them, an eternal echoing punchline. When you get your regional identity from being a Buffalo Bills fan, I brave the cold in order to support my team. Is that the team that America is rooting for because they're tired of Taylor Swift, tired of Kansas City, tired of Travis Kelce, tired of Patrick Mahomes, and they want the Bills to not only win now, but then win in the next round no matter who's available?
I've never minded the Kansas City Chiefs throughout their entire run, even as the Taylor Swift thing was going on, and I understand how that rubbed people the wrong way because she's a woman. But this year it's gotten to me because of how they're doing it. You look at their numbers, you look at their point differential, you look at the fact that they haven't scored more than 30 points. Like it's they can't keep getting away with this. They're getting away with things that flawed teams do, yet you know that we still haven't seen the best Patrick Mahomes. It's a huge weekend for football, the mother of all football weekends. All these tickets are so in demand. It's hard to get in that building. Diana Rossini's husband can't even get in that building. Well, guess what, Diana Rossini's husband? What? Why don't you download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Dan for $20 off your first purchase, Diana Rossini's husband. Terms apply. Diana Rossini's husband. What time is it? Game time. You're married. Incredible. One stat here on the Jayden Daniels thing, because we mentioned that the other rookie quarterbacks that have found themselves in this position were carried by their defenses. I undersold it, Jeremy.
Yeah, Kyle Brandt pointed this out after Jayden Daniels made the conference championship. So here's where team scoring defenses ranked for each of these quarterbacks. Brock Purdy, first. Mark Sanchez, third. Joe Flacco, third. Ben Roethlisberger, first. Sean King, third. Jayden Daniels, 18th. So he's been carrying Washington.
Yeah, and Washington's especially bad against the run versus Saquon Barkley. Not a great matchup, I don't think. But, listen, Buffalo out-underdogs Washington in terms of if nationwide, America in general. If you're a dispassionate football fan rooting for the best story or what have you, you have to be a Bills fan. You just do. They haven't won. They haven't won anything since the AFL days.
Let me ask the group a question, and I should tell everybody that we will have a bit of a skeletal show tomorrow in terms of staff, because on Sunday we're going to do a watch party here where we go up to the biggest game. And we're going to be here on Sunday doing a live show for you during the games, a watch-along, a simulcast. We love doing these. You guys love watching them. Greg Cody will be here, and we will have a more vigorous crew on Sunday than we have tomorrow. But the thing that I wanted to ask you about this, because it's been fairly amazing to watch Tom Brady hand over this particular mantle. The Chiefs are a confoundment, and just about anybody who's watching football would simply assign the weird math of this season of them having 2 losses and all the games being close with, oh, they took this from Brady. They know how to win. It's a thing that they know how to do. But I'm being told that that's a thing that Jayden Daniels also knows how to do. And I'm being told that in this game, this is a thing that Josh Allen does not know how to do against this quarterback who knows how to do it. But if I showed you the season statistically, if I didn't tell you it was Patrick Mahomes, I just showed you where he was under 4,000 yards for the first time, 300-yard games, among the quarterbacks this weekend who won throwing for an average of 166 yards because of how confining some of the defenses make these things. Do you guys believe that you can articulate for me what knows how to win is beyond, I don't understand how they do that, and they keep doing that, so they must know how to do that?
This is the best time to argue they know how to win, because I don't think we've ever seen a team. I guess there was a Lakers team that really coasted through the regular season and as a 5 seed learned to turn it on. And remember when the Heat really stumbled in their defense year in 07. We just kept referencing, well, Shaq has done this before. But the Chiefs have the bona fides. The Chiefs have been there. The Chiefs are always there. They're omnipresent in this conversation. We've seen them win. So they're not met with the same skepticism that other flawed teams might be, even though this Chiefs team is flawed, because we've seen them do it before, and we know if there is a drive with 90 seconds or less on the clock, we are all terrified if we're opposing Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but you say we've seen them do this before, and this is what I would tell you that we haven't seen. Everyone listening to this thinks Buffalo's better.
Actually think so. Like, I look at the talent that Buffalo lost this offseason, and yeah, in the trenches it's not sexy, but I love that offensive line, and I love that defensive line. Greg Rousseau might end up being the highest paid player on defense. It's a lot of great stories,
Miami
but
guy.
These aren't. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. We should, and I think he played 7 snaps against Florida. Thank you, Manny Diaz. But I think that this is really Josh Allen's year. And he went through the other guy that he's neck and neck in the MVP race. And we have never, in recorded history, seen a quarterback in the postseason go 0 for his first 4 against another quarterback. If the Chiefs win this, it'd be the first time that has ever happened. And it's another 0 for 4 that the Bills would have to their name. I love that he's in this position because he has to go through both those guys in order to get to the ultimate legendary status, somehow even surpassing Jim Kelly in that market, which was thought impossible.
I do think it's Buffalo's year to win the Super Bowl. But when you talk about trying to quantify why the Chiefs win, why they know how to win, Andy Reid in his career has coached 35 games either after a bye or after an off week. His record is 30-5. To me, if you have a coach that with added, not just added rest, but added preparation time, has that kind of a record, pretty big sample size, that's a lot of it.
But hold on a second. They weren't off last week. You're talking about because they have an extra day of rest, or like because they weren't off last week? Kansas City's not having extra preparation. They played last week.
I'm talking about in his career. He is 30-5 after a bye week or after a week of rest, which the Super Bowl is after a week of rest.
Okay, but we're talking about this game. And when I say that Buffalo is better, Mike, give me all the times Kansas City is a 1.5-point favorite at home in a playoff game with Patrick Mahomes. What was the spread in that Patriots game when the Patriots went in there and had what was, I thought, their most impressive victory of the entire Belichick era, because they were not as good as that Kansas City team, and they had the perfect game plan to just hold the ball all game, and they beat that Kansas City team in Kansas City. But Buffalo being only a 1.5-point dog on the road says that the money says Buffalo's better. Like the record, here's what you have with Buffalo and Kansas City that's interesting. Kansas City's record is better. But if I give you all the other stats, including the quarterback, and don't tell you, if I just put them next to each other and say these people are playing these people, the only reason Kansas City is a favorite in this game by 1.5, the only reason is because people think that they know how to do that, that they will not lose this game because Patrick Mahomes knows how to not lose this game, being 16-3 in the playoffs with the same number of wins already as Joe Montana.
In that 2019 AFC Championship game between Tom Brady's Patriots and Patrick Mahomes' Chiefs, the Patriots were actually 3-point dogs headed into that game and won outright.
Imagine being in the Super Bowl so many times you're just like, oh yeah, we're playing in the Super Bowl later. Like, do you think Patrick Mahomes even is like, cool, this is a great moment, this is so important? I think he just shows up and he's like, oh dang, cool.
You have the added juice of, even though the Bills haven't got the better of them in the postseason, they almost did in one of the greatest games of all time. They beat them this year. They were the defeat in their record, really the lone real defeat, because I'm not counting that Broncos one with them resting all their starters. This one has so much juice to it that I do think he gets up for this, and it's his contemporary. It's a guy that everyone is pointing to, saying that guy's probably MVP, had a much better season than Patrick Mahomes, so he's going up against the best version of Josh Allen and the perceived weakest version of himself. I think he gets up for it.
I think there's a reason why Buffalo is almost a pick'em game, 1.5 to 2 points, depending where you look. Buffalo's offense is better than Patrick Mahomes' offense this year. James Cook is a better running back than Kareem Hunt has been, who's averaging like 3.4 yards a carry. And the defense, I would say Kansas City has an edge on defense, but Buffalo's offense has been much better, appreciably better.
I do want you guys to look up for me, though, in the Mahomes era here, how often they have been this small a favorite at home, because this is all about the point differential between these two teams. We've all seen Kansas City play all of these close games, and Buffalo blows people out more frequently. Almost never gets blown out. Neither does Kansas City. But we all remember watching Kansas City wheeze against Carolina this year. Just be overwhelming at every turn. What you've seen in the salary cap age as they've lost Tyreek Hill is basically Kansas City's offense gets 10 points shaved off it. Just, they used to be a team you expected 30-plus points a game. Now they're routinely in the low 20s because that's how they win football games with one of the, if not the youngest defense in the sport. But I'm not going to find a lot of times that there is the feeling that the team going into Kansas City to play in the cold is this small of an underdog.
Right.
The money is telling you that they think Buffalo is better, and the reason that Kansas City can win is that know how to win with snow and home field.
Yeah, well, it's a cold weather team they're playing too, so I don't think the weather is that much of a differential here. But keep in mind, Patrick Mahomes, by his standards, did not have an extraordinary season. Didn't even make the Pro Bowl, which is like unheard of. I mean, he makes the Pro Bowl every year.
Can you guys look up for me some of the statistical ranks of Patrick Mahomes this year so that people understand that he was between 10 and 15 and sometimes under 15 in some places where that offense was limited and frustrating? Because this is not the Kansas City team you remembered, and it's getting credit based on previous incarnations of the Kansas City team because Travis Kelce just had 117 of their 177 yards, and people are saying he can turn this on.
Yeah.
I've seen this happen before. He can have 3 straight 100-yard games because he can just flip a switch and say, I'm not hurt anymore.
This doesn't happen, really. Patrick Mahomes being a home dog or slight fave all that often. But it did happen in 2021. The Chiefs were really struggling out the gates, and they hosted Buffalo, which was a 1-point favorite on the road. Revenge playing a big factor in that game after one of the all-timers.
And Buffalo ended up winning that game?
Yeah, I believe so. You're asking a lot of questions. You're really testing my ChatGPT today.
Well, so forgive me for this, but because this game is something that I believe the audience, this is super weird, man. This is a super weird situation to have in a game. One of the quarterbacks has been far and away better than the other the entire season, and on top of that has eliminated his primary weakness in such an enormous way that he's the best protector of the football in the sport. And I think people believe that he will fumble or intercept or get thrown interception on Sunday, and that he will figure out a way to not be able to beat the guy who knows how to win, because he's got to learn something about knowing how to win. And
this is why we watch sports, dude. This is legacy-making stuff on the line. It's why I wanted the path of Lamar versus Josh Allen, because you would have that no matter what going into the AFC Championship game, provided that they handled their business against Houston, and thank goodness that they did, because this is the drama that'll draw everybody in. They've had such marquee games that have been so highly rated that casual, tangential fans, girlfriends or boyfriends of people that follow this sport avidly know this storyline going into it, and they know all the baggage that is attached to the Buffalo Bills.
Ahead of this game, the smallest spread that the Chiefs had in a home playoff game was against the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. That was 1.5.
Josh Allen is the MVP favorite against Patrick Mahomes, going for the first three-peat in history. Epic final. I know in the semifinal, I know we all thought Buffalo against Baltimore was as good as it gets, but this is just a dramatic final. It dwarfs the, Jayden Daniels aside, it dwarfs the NFC final.
Yeah, it is funny because if you look at the championship odds, the Eagles are actually favored to win the championship. Now, a lot of that has to do with their path going to it, and this is essentially a pick-em game, so it's really hard to handicap a certain team going through this game and then winning the additional game. But whoever wins this game will indeed be favored in the Super Bowl.
I was just handed a stat. Patrick Mahomes has been a 2-point favorite or less 6 times in the playoffs. He's 6-0.
Of course. Would you drive an Oldsmobile Orsilac at Le Batard Show?
Wait, wouldn't that run counter to the Bengals stat that we just read off, though? Because he did lose that game to the Bengals. And if that was
No, we
just
didn't.
the Bengals beat them in the AFC
Bengals,
Championship.
I had that. I could be wrong. I thought that was a
The Bengals made it to that Super
23 to
Bowl. Who was
20
wrong?
victory for the Chiefs.
I know
Let me
I
go
saw
back
the
and
Rams
look.
play the Bengals. I wrote a musical
That's
about
true.
it.
Just know if I was wrong, it was handed to me on a paper.
Okay, very good.
Al
That is
Golden was
the-
coaching in that game. I'm gonna miss him
How about
so
this?
much.
We haven't talked about this. Al Golden has refurbished himself. Al Golden is now a professional coach. He is now. I mean, I know he was a professional coach before, but he is
Professional
now.
coordinator.
He is now in the NFL. He has revamped his entire image. Al Golden is now pristine, is he not? He is a coveted
He
person.
gave us one last corner blitz. One last corner blitz on the way out. I'm gonna miss him so much.
We have Rose has gotten into position. It has been very disappointing that we have said that we are going to support Pat Riley here and we are going to build a statue to Pat Riley that stands over the Miami Heat's arena. And it's been embarrassing to me as somebody who's the founder of Meadowlark Media and feels like we should have pride and class in the things we do. It's been embarrassing to see that inflatable... what do you call it, Jessica? Inflatable
Wacky
car?
inflatable arm man.
Okay.
Tube man.
Yeah, people know what you're talking about there.
Tubi.
Yes.
His name's Tubi.
Thank you. It's pathetic. Chris,
Dan, we've heard your complaints. Video team, show him the new statue.
we have a new one.
We're panning over very dramatically
Oh,
here.
we do have it. Hey!
wow! Look at that! Look
Yes.
at that!
That's a statue. It looks like the actual guy.
Look at that.
It's
is
him.
that?
He's there.
Hasn't aged a day.
Looking young.
Yes.
Better likeness than the Wade statue. I'll
Pointing
tell you.
over. Like you see him there pointing at his arena.
We got down to the bottom of the confusion. There were two AFC championships between the Bengals and the Chiefs. The one that the Bengals actually won, the Chiefs were bigger favorites in that game. They were -7.
Yeah, I stopped listening as soon as there were a bunch of numbers.
You want more numbers?
No, I do not. Although I do want you to appear every once in a while as the superhero who comes on and annoys people with math.
Dog, you're
Isn't
the
that
one
what I do
asking
every
for the
day?
numbers.
I know, but people don't like the numbers, and then sometimes there are too many numbers, and in this particular case, we ended up with so many numbers that you guys just ended up confusing everybody with Bengals numbers that you couldn't tell whether they were right
Well,
or
you're
not.
the one that's just fallen in love with your new ChatGPT toy via me, and you're just putting me in a really tough spot here.
I'll give you a number. Al Golden, he's like 6'6". I mean, he's really tall. Just understated, but so tall.
Interesting.
So much.
I don't believe that that's true.
He was
You
a
don't?
tight end, wasn't he?
I think it is.
The only reason I stood next to him, he didn't feel like somebody who was substantively
You're like
bigger
6'4".
than me. Yes.
He's gotten taller since he got to Notre Dame.
Okay. Yes, he did. I think that happens sometimes.
That's what happens when you stand on the shoulders of giants.
He's ginormous, and I'm going to miss him so much.
Put it on the poll. Did you think, or do you think, Al Golden is 6'6"? Greg Cody covered the University of Miami, and for some reason, you didn't blanch at all at that. Beyond, you didn't know that, I should say. You just said wow in a way that suggested that you were super surprised by him being 6'6", even though you covered him.
If you'd have told, well, I didn't cover him directly. I haven't covered a coach full-time since Jimmy Johnson in the 80s. But to your point, I've been in Al Golden's company. I would have guessed he's about your height, 6'3", maybe. I would not have guessed 6'6".
Can we settle on 6'4.5", maybe?
I would take that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah. Good over-under.
We have with us what can be empirically called our most popular guest. I think that people here on the show listening to it will be surprised to learn that this is our most popular guest. But he is, without a doubt, the world's foremost public authority on UFOs. It is a field that is going mainstream. It is getting more transparency from Washington. He's got a new 3-part docuseries called UFO Revolution, which you can stream for free on Tubi. And before I get to all of the things going on in this world, Jeremy, thank you for joining us, Jeremy Corbell. Again, always appreciate your time. Before I get to what it is that you're chronicling these days most urgently, can you please tell me the starting point on how this became such an obvious lane for you to traffic in as a very smart business model? Because people are unusually fascinated by your expertise.
First of all, hey guys, nice to be here again. I hope everybody kind of has seen what the last year has given us with this topic. To answer your question, first of all, there is no authority on UFOs. That's the problem. There is no expert. We don't have all the information. That's become very clear. That's become very clear for decades. So people are trying to catch up, including myself. Now, the way you worded that, a lane for me, it was accidental, man. This isn't a business model. This is something that I'm passionate about. I got interested in this because through George Knapp, who's a great reporter, I realized we're being lied to. And I'm like, what's this big lie about? Why does it really matter? If people are seeing UFOs, they've been reporting it, our military's reporting it, our militaries are filming it, your government is telling you now that UFOs are real, that they're a craft of unknown origin, that are unidentified, that outpace, outmaneuver, and outperform our greatest weaponry, then why is this a big secret? We need to talk about this to get to ground truth on what UFOs are, which nobody has a great explanation for.
Mike Ryan has seen this documentary, UFO Revolution. I am told that we have a clip here to toss to because, again, people are unusually fascinated by this subject matter and more relevantly, unusually fascinated by recent developments that make this a more fertile time to actually believe with proof some of the things we're seeing and hearing. So let's play a clip from UFO Revolution.
What extent will the US government go to plug leaks? I try not to think about it.
Best thing you could do perhaps is to get your name out there, become as famous and bulletproof as you can, because if they come after you relating to UFOs, that's an acknowledgement that it's real.
Access Hollywood starts right now.
Join us now as investigative journalist and documentarian Jeremy Corbell. Good to see you.
He's an investigative journalist and filmmaker. He's one of the world's foremost experts on the world of the unknown.
Oh my God.
Worth it. That was certainly my favorite part.
That legitimately surprised me, seeing me dressed as Richard Simmons with that bald spot. Yeah, I think we just played that in order to show that. I don't think we want you to comment on
you followed Mario Lopez
on what what it is that was said there. But Jeremy, when you say that people are lying, like what are the most overt facts that you have that would suggest that we've been lied to for this long?
Yeah, it's not a suggestion. If you go back in history and you just look at when people do Freedom of Information Act requests and everything is blacked out, it's overclassification, you've been told by people who ran these programs that there has been an operation to lie to the American public, to diminish it. It's historic fact that Project Blue Book back in the day was a whitewash. The whole point of it was to, quote, demystify the UFO topic, was to get people to stop believing or being curious about the UFO thing. Even the head of Project Blue Book, J. Allen Hynek, later came out and said, yeah, we were told to diminish it and to dissuade the public from being interested. And this was a government program back in the day. So this still keeps going. This keeps maintaining. The problem is that people that run these programs are now speaking publicly. George Knapp and I brought somebody on our show called Weaponized, Dr. James Lakatsky. He was the Defense Intelligence Agency representative for a UFO program that is now famously public. The New York Times helped break that story. And he told the American public, he told us about one. He said, we have a craft of non-human origin, and we've breached the hull of it. I mean, this is an engineer, a physicist who worked, verified in the UFO programs. You have David Grush testifying under oath to Congress, saying we have crash retrieval programs that are secret. They've been held from the American public. We're trying to reverse engineer these technologies, and that, people have been harmed and hurt for trying to come forward. Actually, he said people have died trying to come forward to talk about this. This is all under oath in Congress. That was the big step. I think that's why we're talking about this now, is because patriots, people that have worked for our country in the intelligence agencies, are now coming forward and saying this is a reality and we can't be blind to it, because if we're blind to it, then we're going to be behind.
There is so much staggering evidence out there, and yet when you bring this up, in the mainstream, people will, I'm sure you've been called a kook before, people will attack this as some sort of crazy conspiracy theory. And one of the prevailing theories as to why that is because the existence of some other life form, and I know there's a separation. UFOs are not necessarily alien life. And that's one of the big mysteries here. But just merely addressing this and giving it credence challenges a lot of the theologies, pretty much all of them, on this planet. So I guess this is a very roundabout way to ask you this. Is it easier to just cover the whole thing up and just treat it like this can't possibly exist, so we ignore it? Is that an easier cover-up than what if the actual cover-up is what you actually know is possible on this planet about technology or military advancements is pretty much just the tip of the iceberg, and the real secret here is what our capabilities are?
Right. I mean, so this is the thing. Look, I've seen the climate change even on this show. Don't think I forgot the first time I was on the show. I was getting some words from somebody back there. Look, that's the thing. This conversation is progressing with or without every individual. There are people paying attention now. And I think that's so cool. I don't mind taking ridicule. I think this is important. I mean, I really think this is important. That's why my journalism is focused on this. You can attack people saying it, but we got to go to what are the facts? What's happening? You've now had 6 people testify in front of Congress telling you about the reality. You've had New York Times break stories. You have whistleblowers coming forward. A lot of times people come forward through the media, through TV, through movies. That's just like the way it has to happen if you don't have the microphone at Congress. So the climate has completely changed about this subject. Now, why the secrecy? This is something that I'm still trying to understand after all this time of working on it. The core of it, it may be our belief systems. It could shatter our belief systems, sure. But really, I think there was good reason at the beginning. During the atomic era, when we started lighting off nukes and being able to blow up the world, I think that there was a secrecy that was put in place, a kind of architecture for our safety is kind of the idea for national security, but also just security of our planet. So I think what's happened is you see that the UFO topic at first was being covered up because if this is true, we better get a handle on these technologies. If we can exploit this technology and get a technological advantage, whatever nation does that first, they win. If we can replicate these craft, if we can replicate what they do, it appears to be a different form or understanding of physics by the way these craft move. That's famously shown by the 2004 Tic Tac case with Commander David Fravor, who chased a UFO for the United States military. He testified in front of Congress. So my thought is that is the reason the secrecy was first initiated, was to try to exploit the technologies before Russia, before China. You might have had Representative Gallagher on this show before, if I recall. He talked about that. It's called strategic surprise. So maybe that's the reason. However, now we know UFOs are real. You've been told that, but that's as far as it's gone, and you can't put that away. Once that's been said, there are more questions coming. Now, is this going to shake the foundations of what we think about the universe, about us, about if you're religious, about your religion? I don't know. I have no idea. But I know if we don't address it, we're going to have major issues.
Jeremy, if I could, because people want so much information from you and I have so many questions, let me do this a little more rapid fire. I'm going to limit you 30 seconds each time to each answer. Question number 1, what does your email inbox look like?
It looks like a slot machine in Vegas at midnight. It's just constant.
Of just people telling you, I saw this over here and it looked like a jellyfish and it was flying 100,000 miles an hour?
All around the world, 24/7, UFOs are seen, they're filmed. People also just want to tell me their experiences. People you wouldn't imagine, they say, this is not for public, this is for you to know as a data point in your research. It's incredible the amount of people that hit me up every day.
You must be sitting on a lot of leaks. What's your process to confirm?
Great question. People get really mad that I sit on information. They say, well, if I just took my emails and put them out on the internet, it's not going to help anybody because the signal to noise. I take years. George Knapp and I have our own methods and our own sources. If we get leaks to us, if people leak stuff to us as journalists, it's a catch-all. We take them in. We have to vet, verify who's the person. Can they stand behind that? Can we see their documents? Is the video worthy of putting out to the public? People also try to trick us all the time. They would love for me to make a mistake, to put something out that is easily explainable later. People try. So my process is trying over years with each case to see if I can verify the individuals and the information.
Only 31% of Americans trust the mainstream media. It's a record low. Do you think Americans now prefer to believe independent journalists like you?
I hope that the average American individual can see that we're not on script, that we say it like we know it at the time. I think there's a lot of great power in individual hands now for journalism, and it's going to take a lot of people. There is no expert on UFOs. It's going to take a lot of people looking at this. So I hope they do.
TMZ presents UFO Revolution. It's a 3-part event. It's now streaming on Tubi. The greatest example that you have of shocking evidence most recently is blank.
You know, in my series, the most recent one is there was a military filmed, it looks like the gimbal UFO, that very famous one that's gone all over the media in black and white. This footage looks green, and this object comes up in Iraq during deployment in a combat zone, and there's a Marine who contacted me, and you could hear what he has to say, and it looks like a saucer. It looks like the gimbal UFO. That's a pretty cool piece of evidence.
Does the government plan to tell us at any time soon that something is about to arrive from another place and land here in 2027?
Right. So this is something people are taking out of context that I talked about in my show. I am not saying that. I am saying I believe that to be a lie. And the reason why I put that in the show, and people clip it to make it sound like I'm saying that, I'm saying I believe it to be a lie. And the reason I'm saying that is because there's like a whisper campaign within journalists and within our community. We've all heard it, that this is all preparation of the battlefield and there's some craft coming. I don't buy that for a second. I know the origin of it. I've tried to run it down. So I was trying to warn people of being told what I consider to be that lie. And look, if I'm wrong, we're all screwed.
Not to turn this into a political discussion, but the current president has gone on podcasts and has been asked about aliens, and he's shown a genuine interest to declassify everything that there is out there. And he's certainly now dealing with big tech and a lot of billionaires that have gone into space. Are we now more likely than ever with this administration to get more clarity, more transparency around this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, look, words are cheap. Everybody has said that they want to have more transparency on UFOs. Bill Clinton, he actually tried to get transparency on UFOs to the American public. I don't know who's controlling that information, but presidents before haven't been able to. Is it different this time? Well, I definitely know that some of the people that have been vocal about transparency on this are now in this administration. So I do hope. I don't think transparency on this is going to come from our government. I think it's going to come from civilians and journalists.
Jeremy, I appreciate your time. We appreciate your perspective. Thank you for being on with us. I look forward to seeing this on Tubi. What you did to me there was unfair. It's a bit horrifying and delightful. Thank you. I appreciate it, Jeremy.
Yeah, man, you did it to yourself. You wore the costume. Hey, guys, thanks so much. I'll see you next time. Thank you for covering this.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your work.
A lot of people really like him. I have an email I've been sent here that I find fairly shocking, and I just want to put it on all of you and see what you think. Reporting from Georgia, an emailer writes in, the people who cut the TSA line were Scott Van Pelt and Matthew Berry.
Whoa. Can you confirm?
That silence is damning.
I mean, that's that report, yeah.
That is that report.
It's interesting.
I'm gonna see if I can find out right now whether
FaceTime Scott Van Pelt right now.
Would you like me to do that?
Yeah.
All right. This is
Talented Mr. Rhoda.
All right. Let's see if we do this.
This is usually my move on Mystery Crate.
This is going to be embarrassing.
Hello, Kyle.
People love that, by the way. They just love it.
All right, I'm going to
Wait, take your shirt off, Dan. That's how you
Yeah.
normally do this, right?
I shouldn't do it.
It is a fleshy colored hoodie.
Tell him you're on. He's on air.
I will tell him.
We need to get to the bottom of this.
Put the mic
I
closer
shouldn't
to the
be
mic.
doing
So
this.
we
I
can-
This
No,
is
you
my
can't- you
UFO.
actually. Well, we are
called
not
him.
bound by FCC rules.
I haven't called him in a long time. I'm hoping he doesn't answer.
We're not live right now.
I'm not even sure the FCC is
It's
around
only
anymore.
partially illegal what we're doing.
He'll answer. He loves you.
I don't want him to answer right now. I don't want to put him in this position, but you guys put me in this
How do
position.
you imagine SVP answers? Hey, Danny. What's up, man?
Yes.
Go.
Okay, he did not answer.
Go for Scott.
But I want to accuse him of it publicly. Everyone, go ahead and accuse him of it publicly. Say it's being reported from Georgia via email. I did want to talk to Greg Cody about something that he was maintaining earlier that I thought to be a fairly shocking viewpoint, which is he came out and said that athletes need to do better about not getting robbed.
Yeah. I wish we lived in a world where we didn't have to worry about burglars, but I think it's axiomatic that the richer you are, the more likely your home is to be targeted. And if I'm an athlete making 40, 50 million bucks a year and I hear about all this, guess what? I'm going to spend a couple of bucks, maybe get some on-site security, maybe build a big wrought iron fence. I'm going to do something to insulate my home from what seems to be a fairly systematic burglary ring.
6'2", 190, and my cars got broken into at my home. I'm not that big of a guy.
Are we victim shaming?
I think Al Golden's 6'3".
I gave you 6'4.5". That's as low as I'm gonna
You
go.
show me a picture of him standing next to Kyle Hamilton, and he's an inch shorter.
But he might be standing farther away from the camera.
He's also listed 6'3" and is playing.
Why
nice.
is it a debate how
grown.
tall he is? Let's just look it up.
I'm telling you,
not available
he's
on
a
Google.
Between
tall
3 inches.
guy,
We've lost
okay?
information. Greg.
And I'm beyond the free membership of Chat GPT now at this point. Yeah. I have to go to a paid model. I'm not quite ready to do that.
Dad, how tall are you?
I am 5'9".
This is the new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
That's right. It's Thursday Thunder, and it is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Juju Gotti, what do we got today?
Yes, sir. Salute to everybody who got money with us last week on Thursday Thunder.
Hit it.
We broke the drought, you feel me? Let it rain on America and everywhere that DraftKings are available. You dig me? This week, many man wished death upon he. Blood in his eyes, dog, and he couldn't see. He just trying to be who he destined to be. And brothers tried to take his life away. I'm going with the Wolverine, a.k.a. Brian Robinson Jr., over 9.5 carries for the first leg.
Juju got beat one time by half a carry. Half a carry. He had a 3-leg parlay, got the first 2 legs, got 18 carries of an 18.5 over parlay, a heartbreaker.
Those vocals are beautiful.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Jeremy. We got to collaborate on one of these songs one day. I be hearing you.
You don't have to
are
ask
going
twice,
up
dude.
right
That's
now.
happening.
Yes, sir. Next leg, my brother who's shocking the world, the Rookie of the Year guarantee, Jayden Daniels. I'd say he will get over 10.5 carries against your ESGLSE Eagles this week.
Thank you. Please, Chris Cody, get that again because we cannot play the sound enough. Do you know what he's referencing there, Greg?
Yeah, somebody, a politician or
the
somebody.
Philadelphia mayor did this.
Let me hear you all say, E-L-G-S-E-S, Eagles! Let's go, Bird!
It's not that tough a word to spell. What's going on?
The pressure gets to you. Juju said it yesterday. Like when you're trying to do these chants, like I can relate to this a little bit.
Yeah, you know, a little Wade Jones situation. And the last leg, I'm going to travel. You know what, this week? I'm gonna go commando all the way this week. You dig me? Taylor, I see you. I'm going Diami Brown over 44.5 yards receiving this week against the ESGLES Eagles. I say, get it done.
Wow. Okay, let's all ride those bets. I'll tell you that. All of them sound
Yes,
great.
sir.
All of them sound great to me. I'm on it.
This is what it sounds like. Greg Cody steering the ship.
That was Greg Cody trying to transition and not knowing what to do at the end.
Those
of
are bets right there.
Yeah.
It is an awkward transition.
Greg, why didn't you just speak like a normal human
I
being?
don't know. What can I tell you? I'm a professional broadcaster.
You're just tired at the end of the
I'm
show.
a
Is that-
professional broadcaster.
It's been 2 long days. We've been riding you. What did you want to ask Juju?
Okay, I need a referendum on today's show, what people loved and didn't love, because when I hear the UFO guy introduced as the most popular guest in the history of the show, I'm going to have to doubt that a little bit.
It's
just
numerical.
Like,
it's just numerical.
Okay.
When he appears, it triggers something that people go crazy, and the algorithm feeds all of the people who are interested in UFOs,
Sure.
and so it becomes like something that can be quantified.
Yeah, most people are crackpots. What did you learn, Juju, from this guy's appearance?
People do love my brother. At the first time he came on, people call him this, people call him that. But guess what speaks louder than words? Actual factuals. And my brother just been reporting all these years. And a lot of the stuff he's been reporting has been ringing true. So people have showed that brother a lot of support online.
Greg Cody
So Dan
thought
is
that
right.
was a bad guest. You tuned him out because you don't want to hear UFO talk.
He wants to be considered the best guest in show history.
No,
he
no.
got offended when you called that guy that.
I'm an agnostic when it comes to UFOs. Like I don't have the avid interest that believers do. But my question for that guy, and I should have asked it, I think.
It's good that we're getting to it now.
Yeah, but Juju, maybe you have an opinion. Why is the informed assumption seem to be that UFOs pose a threat or an adversarial relationship?
That's an interesting question to ask Juju out of nowhere.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there are friends that we haven't met
Juju,
yet.
why is that? Why are we not more positive about the fact that the aliens aren't coming here to attack us or ransack us? Maybe they just want to spend time with us, listening to sports shows.
Right, I think it's like the movies. We do them a bad job and injustice in these movies. Independence Day, Men in Black. They always come down with horrible intentions. Like you said, maybe they want to come down and see Patrick Mahomes play Josh Allen this week.
You know what?
You never know.
If I see a UFO, if I see a guy with a big giant green head, I'm going to invite him out to lunch. We're going to have a relationship.
My dad and an alien, like at Billy's Tavern, eating some wings.
Why not?
Over at Sweet Tomatoes at the buffet,
It's on
sniffing
me.
around the candied broccoli.
Exactly.
I know what agnostic means, but I don't think my brother Jeremy knows what it means.
He's going to start coughing here in a second. Do you have any other? There it is. Do you have any other?
Well, here's one. I have to know whether the Ford Tagliabue was the winning poll answer. I have to know that.
Oh man, which of these cars would you be most likely to buy? I'm gonna read them off: the Volkswagen Bolitnikov, the Ford Tagliabue, the Chrysler Concepcion, or the Chevy Terrassi, which were very easy for a brother like me to spell. But 39% of the audience chose the Chevy Terrassi.
That was Stugotz's. That was Stugotz's nominee. Do we have any other critiques here, or polls, or what else do we want to do? Because, and I want to get to all of this, but Scott Van Pelt has responded, and so I do want to get back to Scott Van Pelt in a second. But finish us off here, Juju, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Should we all be so lucky to live Betty White's life? 93% of the audience says yes, we should, and people know how I feel about Betty. Salute, rest in peace.
Who are those
Ooh, I miss you,
7%?
girl.
Who are those 7%?
But how about Greg Cody saying that Betty White got around because she had 3 husbands and dated one other man?
That's
You
a
dated a
compliment.
Cochran.
That's a compliment.
He was there. We didn't see it. He saw it with his own
There
eyes.
you go. Me and Betty.
Studio 54.
All right. I betted Betty.
All right.
People put it. People love the polls. Do you have any other? Do you have any other polls? I really don't think you should say that.
All right. Edit that out.
Has there ever been a good show with a colon in the title? Wording. 57% of the audience said no, it has not.
Any critiques on today's show? We have had a bit of a hot streak over the last couple of months where everybody feels pretty good about what we're doing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we had some critiques over the last week. This week, there's been some rumblings. People want people to pay their fines, man. So we got to get this fine system down pat now. I think we should stop wasting time. I don't know. Send the code out to everybody because I owe like $14 myself, and I got it for you. I'm ready to send it, but I don't know where to send it to.
I paid my $7. I paid. We're getting that going.
Today. Greg, we are doing this for Venmo. Juju, if you have anything else, I do have some Scott Van Pelt questions for you guys before I call him again, because he says that I was calling him at an old number, so it rang on his computer just now. So I'm going to I'm going to re-FaceTime him now. But do we want to take any bets on how it is that he answers the phone?
He seems well, he knows you're calling now. It's a totally different thing when you're expecting a call than when it's a random call. So we're not going to get like a SVP in the wild like the way he would answer. I think he's going to answer with, "What's up, Danny?"
That's a good one. I say he goes yellow with the hello, but with the Y on the front of it.
I like that.
I think he's like faux formal, like Mr. Le Batard, that type of thing.
I think he might just give you a yo.
Okay, so I'm not. Should I call him on FaceTime or should I call him? It's easier to put him on speaker if it's not FaceTime.
Yeah, not FaceTime.
Yeah, no, you don't need to FaceTime. Just call him, put it on speaker, and make sure it's near the mic so the mic can pick it up.
So let's do this. All right, let's see what we've got here.
Oh, I love the sound of a ring.
This call is presented by DraftKings.
Hello.
Yeah, just a boring hello is all he gave us. Now, what's up, Danny? Hello, Scott. Nice to talk to you. It's Dan Le Batard. You're on the air, and we have a pressing accusation that you might want to respond to.
Okay.
I'm sorry to do this to you this way. It's unpleasant, but you have been accused publicly by a person in Georgia, you and Matthew Berry, of cutting the TSA line at the national championship game.
Let me tell you something, Dan. There was no line. All there was mayhem and lawlessness and chaos. It was survival of the fittest. It was kill or be killed. And did we break the line? Allegedly. I popped to all of this on the podcast that we did. We came in, yes, we did. We came in a door. And where we came in, there were thousands of people, Ohio State, Notre Dame fans, all of whom were incredibly pleasant, by the way. I enjoyed meeting all of them in the 3 hours we stood the TSA line waiting to get through. Go to the clear TSA line, they say. Sure. Like, that's the cheat code I don't know? No shit. I know where to go. There's nowhere to go. So I'm standing there, and there's no one's helping, no red jackets helping. And we look and we say, this isn't going to work. And I'm like, wait, is this even a line? Let's go down there and see. And so we wandered down towards a different door where if you came in that door, you just blended into the line because there wasn't a line. So that's what we did. And if that's against the law, then I am guilty as charged.
Okay, good talking to you.